Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday the 14th of August 2010. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Robert Kemp.
Yes! Oh, I did that last week, bugger.
And Zachary Burgess.
Hi. And this time in reverse order again.
Yes,
keep mixing it up.
That way...
That's probably why Rob just went, yes, because he wasn't prepared.
Indeed. Fouling you up once more. Well, the fact that you said the exact same thing but in a different place makes it different, I think. Do you think?
Arguably.
Different enough? It's a different enough intro from last time.
It's like a character with a catchphrase. If I was to go, yes, like 3 times, then that's a catchphrase.
I just already have. Oh, shit.
Yes, you just did it the 3rd time. It's now officially your catchphrase, Rob.
Yeah, maybe that's what I need to tag this episode with. This week on years.
No, this is still the Saladcast and not years.
The episode name, kind of.
Anyway, so this week on Sit Down to Menton, how's it going, guys? A good week.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's been a week.
It's been some days. It's been a bit more than a week, really, since the last one.
A week and a half.
That's
again.
True.
Yeah.
It's been a week, but not a week. So.
Week. Yeah, no, it's been all right. Who's going to go first then?
Oh, yes.
It's like, fuck that, let's get on.
Well, yeah, you know what? I was doing that because there was a moment of awkward silence. Unless you wanted me to talk about MFM.
What the hell is MFM?
Oh my gosh, it's a sensation. Even if I do say it to myself, it is somewhat of my own trumpet blowing. But MFM is basically the my supreme mashed potato that I have just consumed.
Okay.
Let me guess. It stands for motherfucking mash.
It clearly does.
Yeah, pretty close. It's my fucking mash, but. Because, motherfucking mash could be anyone's mash, but this one's mine.
Yes, but then you can't... Then other people can't say that. Because it's it can't be a brand name or whatever, because everyone will be calling it their own.
We'd be calling it your fucking mash, and you'd be calling it my fucking mash. So, or Rob...
Yeah, but it's mine. No one else can make my mash.
Yeah, but call it Rob's fucking mash then.
RFM. Read the fucking manual.
Oh, that's already taken. That one's taking. Well, it's RTFM though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, technically, but only because the is one of those stupid words that no one can decide whether to put in their acronyms or not.
I love how we independently developed that phrase from the internet. Like, the internet has read the fucking manual, but we had from ages past, read the manual. Perhaps, Robbie, you could explain the story of that.
Oh, man. I can't remember what the television channel was called. What was it?
It was
like a foreign channel on Sky, wasn't it, that turned up trying to be a games-orientated television channel.
It was the cheapest channel ever.
Italian or something, yeah. It was cheaper than Quiz Call. And
they made their money by having extended quizzes, didn't they? Where you phone in on a phone line that costs
and the answer was always D.
Time. Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, there were always either 4 or 5. It's multiple choice questions, and there were always either 4 or 5 answers. And obviously, the answer was it was in the style of those TV quizzes where the answer is incredibly obvious, right? And the answer was there was a trend that the answer was always the 4th one down. So if it was 4 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 or D or whatever the 4th option was, it was always that one.
Basically always happened. And yeah, it was just the most atrocious thing ever. And the read the manual catchphrase came from this program they were talking about, because they seem to get behind one of these free to play MMOs. These web-based ones, so they got quite behind it. And one time they had a phone in, so it was like a Q&A session about the game and stuff. You write us things and we'll tell you how to do it, kind of stuff, which is cool in principle, except for the fact they had a video link to this supposed guru of the game or something who'd been playing it for quite a while.
A terrible video link.
But yeah, it was a terrible link. It was like watching the first version of mobile phone video, that kind of shitty frame rate, terrible pixelatedness.
Yeah.
Except this guy was basically a giant douche. Because he wouldn't answer any question he was given in any kind of sane manner. He just sort of and tired out in stupid fashion.
You couldn't understand half what you say.
Yeah, you couldn't understand half what you say. apart from the one phrase where he was asked a question and he just went, "Read the manual."
And that was the genesis of Read the Manual, which was our equivalent of RTFM, which is now internet standard. But I still like to say just in the classic voice.
Oh, I remember what it was called. It was Games Network.
Yeah, that's it, Games Network. Oh, and because it was it Italian or something? I don't know.
I think it was Italian, or Spanish.
I think that day we were watching it, and the same quiz came on every advert break, and we heard this Italian woman say the words "Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty."
I was about to say, actually, because I swear they always did their competitions in that set, and then didn't bother to move the Solid Snake cardboard cutout from the set, like no matter what the competition was. So it's like, oh, it's that Metal Gear competition again. No, they're talking about SimCity or something. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's really bad. So,
and I always remember they had this weird. I can't remember what it was for. It was like just a random bit of game footage or something that they just decided to show randomly. But it was called on this program called TNT or something, and which had the worst CG intro, basically Flash style intro to it, and had I think was it AC/DC or something? Well, yeah. Anyway, I can't remember what it was, but there's this rock song that's all good. Goes TNT dynamite, the TNT. Yeah, and it just sort of did. That was the coolest bit of the network, I think.
Why can't? This is a question for you guys. Why doesn't? It's 2010, right? And there still isn't a decent games program
Nobody's
on TV.
Ever done it right, have they? Well, I suppose there's been a few gleaming examples, what's it called? There's the one with is it Violet someone or other?
Oh, I know.
Which is still running.
Is it?
Or it was fairly recently on Bravo and stuff.
Because she used to be in
Video Net
or whatever it was, or something. I can't remember, on Channel 4. But there's never been a proper. Back when it was Mega Drive and stuff, there was kid stuff like Games Master or whatever.
Which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and they were pretty cool. But at this point, I think there ought to be a half hour long on the BBC games, because there's enough news and stuff to talk about. You can make it fairly good, you know. I think it needs to be the equivalent of film
of a film
2010.
section. Yeah, it's entirely possible to do, but you've got to keep it focused. Is the thing.
It's that's what they try and do with that stupid Click program on the news channel, where it's that's also includes other computer stuff and not just games. But that's sort of vaguely professionally created.
Well, no, it's because they always aim these programs at the demographic that doesn't exist. These sort of awesome, totally wicked, check this out.
Yeah,
these people don't exist. It's just most game players nowadays probably sort of teenagers still, but they'll be beyond that. They'll be sort of emo, I guess, nowadays, rather than totally wicked.
You just need to make it a very broad appeal.
I'm going to drink some underage beer.
And you need to just not force too much of style on it, and just let it speak for itself.
I'll tell you what the problem is. The presenters. It's always the fact that they centralise on this presenter-orientated show. It never works. You want to just get down to the facts. I suppose that's, in essence, you want just a sequence of slots, as if you were trawling through the videos on game trailers. But then again, that's game trailers.
That's game trailers. Yeah,
do we need a show?
That would be served better on the internet. It needs to be. I think the model has to be Jonathan Ross hosting Film 2010, where he's at a desk and he introduces the next item, or he'll review stuff, and then you'll get footage of. I'm not saying Jonathan Ross, obviously, but you'll get the guy from Game. Imagine the guy from Game Trailers or whatever, and then there'll be one of his reviews, which are really good on Game Trailers, every episode. So that will take up 7 minutes or whatever, and then you cut away to reports, just like Film 2010 does, where you have people talking to developers about previewing games and stuff. I think that could work as a format, but
just the occasional sort of quick interview with Cliffy B or some other big names, John Romero comes to talk to us about the history of Doom and math.
But you have to make sure it's not too wacky, because for me, even the Gadget Show on 5 is too wacky and zany for my taste. I can't.
I don't know. It's still all right. The problem, the Gadget Show for me suffers from coming up next syndrome, where half the show is probably taken up by, we'll do this later in the show, and it's well, just do it. Seriously, I don't care. Surprise me.
Yeah. Because I guess a video games would be a cross between film, whatever, and the old Tomorrow's World in a way, in its kind of tone, not in content at all, because obviously, technology.
Games industry is mature enough to make a mature game show.
Yeah, it doesn't
have
to be
It doesn't have to be aimed at mental or super funny. It just has to be informative,
But if anyone tries, like Sky tried to make a video game show, and it was for kids. It was like, and they had kids come in and play each other at a game. Do you remember that?
That was fucking
had,
mental.
Wacky, zany presenters.
Yeah, it was Games World, where it was different every day.
That's right.
Mondays was like the Monday Night Challenge or something, where they'd get gamers or kids to play off against each other, and the winner would go through to the I forget what the Vidiator Challenge. That was it. They called these hardcore adult gamers the Vidiators, including Big Boy Barry, which was a classic. And Big Boy Barry had his own show on Tuesdays, which basically played out like a sitcom with the occasional cheat. Demonstration thrown in. And the Wednesday show was the worst one ever because they attempted to be futuristic and had this system. Yeah, they had this system. I think it was the first one of its kind where you could push a button on your touch tone telephone and a little box at the program would turn that into a game command, so you could attempt to play video games on the show using your telephone. It was totally disastrous.
I've just realised who would host this program other than Jonathan Ross, because it has to be someone with some mainstream appeal, right? So Charlie Brooker could host it.
But he already tried making his
own
show,
yeah,
which was
Games Wipe was awesome.
Yeah, that was okay, but my main problem with Gameswipe was that I thought the biggest success of Gameswipe, that one-off special, was actually talking about how games are treated on TV, which is what we're talking about. But his actual review stuff was obviously because it was out of date almost immediately, and that these are all the problems that a proper show would resolve, I don't know. And you couldn't have zero punctuation because it's too sweary, but, you could have little inserts like that. I guess Gameswipe might be part of the model, but that's the problem with those is they're very, because they had long, the bit where he talks about TV, talking, TV coverage of games, that kind of stuff takes a lot of editing and takes a lot of work. That's why there's only 6 episodes of Newswipe every year.
But even then, they're quite impressively done though, because they're all mostly completely up to date, aren't they? So he pulls all the footage from the past week.
Yeah, they're really cool.
They get it all collated and stuff for that show, but I suppose it's enough effort that after 6 weeks they go, "Fuck me, we need a break for a year."
Yeah, you couldn't really make enough of that, and he's got his own job doing other stuff. But I don't know. But if you put enough into it, you could make a magazine program, I reckon, every week for a series, just like Tomorrow's World used to be, or whatever.
True. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a long segment, does it? It could, if you condensed all of Newswipe into a small, into a considerably shorter, 5-minute section or something, then there's a lot less work to do. So, there are some topics the perception of video games that Brooker
would be good
covered, at. which are always changing, aren't they? Because there's always the games v art, games as art argument, and how the media treats it, as we mentioned. There's always something to talk about. Admittedly, we haven't had a Jack Thompson in a while.
Well, we haven't in this country anyway.
Well, no, true. We've been fairly lenient, but
there was that hilarious thing in the Daily Star. Did you see that? It was I
presume there's a lot of hilarious things in the Daily Star.
This was the most comedy article. It was the most obscene thing. It was literally 2 days or something after the Roll Moat thing, right?
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. I remember this.
And they printed this story which they'd literally made up about the producers of Grand Theft Auto creating a game called Grand Theft Rothbury. Where you had to go around shooting people. And then they went to the relative of one of the victims, an elderly relative of one of the victims, and said, "Don't you think this is dreadful that they're making a computer game about the shooting of your son or whatever?" And she was like, "Yes, it's dreadful." It's yes, we completely made this up. And they even had a really badly photoshopped cover image that they created for Grand Theft Rothbury with the right font and everything, but they obviously hadn't realised that on the internet there are loads of fake Grand Theft Auto cover images. Yeah, exactly.
Any town you could want, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone out there will always have the bad taste to make one of these.
But luckily, of course, Grand Theft Auto has made Rockstar so much, cache that they basically had a massive team of lawyers descend on the Daily Star and make them write the most grovelling apology in their own paper, which was so funny. It was like really grovellingly worded retraction. So yes, we made it all up. It would
actually probably get some page space rather than a tiny column.
Yeah.
Which they usually do. It's the unnoticeable bit. Oh, sorry, we made a mistake.
Yeah, I think they forced them to make it a bit larger this time because it was the most flagrantly ridiculous story ever printed, basically. And the funniest thing was the way it was covered in the gaming press, because all the headlines in the gaming press were like, Daily Star makes twat of itself. Like, really, it was so funny. Anyway. So yes, gaming and media. Interesting topic, but I think we should get on to gaming in general.
That was a spectacular diversion from Rob's like, let's get on with this, what we've been playing, and it's like, okay, now a hell of an aside.
Well, you did ask for an aside about my fucking mash. I'm not entirely sure how we got from my fucking mash to Grand Theft Auto 3, but it's an interesting
we went via read the fucking manual, and then TV channels, and then onwards to media programming.
Logical progression, actually.
So let's move on to the main feature. Rob, what have you been playing?
Well, this week I've been playing Cook MFM Hardcore edition.
Cooking Mama MFM edition.
No, okay. Actually,
this
has been
a week of mash.
It's been on a serious note, it has been a week of exploration for me in the gaming world. Every now and then I will take some time out to explore all the fucking demos that have turned up in the recent
and not
weeks.
Play any of the games you've been meaning to finish.
Yeah, tell me about it. I don't know. I'm not infused really about much of the stuff I'm playing at the moment, to be honest. It's like, okay, we'll talk about that first, because I have been trying to put in the hours on Red Faction. This week, because my God, there's a lot to do. It's like I didn't quite realise how much there'd be, but I've got to be honest, it's a bit of a grind. Actually, it has a bit of
doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Sort of a. It's weird because it's good, but there's just not enough variety. There's a lot of these guerrilla actions which are not the main missions; they're just sort of side tasks,
right?
Which are not essential to the progression of the plot, but you do them to get morale, and things get easier if you have high morale in the world and stuff. But there's far too many of them because you only need to do a few, and your morale's topped out.
Right.
And then a lot of them are the same, so you get several in the same area of the same task, like the jailbreak, house arrest ones, for instance, are a bit tedious, and the
they don't all send you to the same building or anything, though. Like,
no, but they're
different places in the area.
The problem is that most of them all boil down to the same thing: go somewhere, blow some shit up, run away to a safe house.
Yeah,
but that's the whole game, basically.
That's the trick. But often it's trying to disguise that kind of. There is variety in Grand Theft Auto, for example, but a lot of the missions are drive somewhere, blow something up, drive back, and it's the skill of the designers to make it interesting each time. And when that's lacking, you start to see... I think
what they needed to do for Red Faction is, because they made those like demolition challenges, where it's like, take down this building using whatever we give you or whatever, they kind of needed to sort of integrate that idea more directly into everything else, so it's like give you limited weapons for a raid or whatever. Rather than separating that off into like a playground where it's just like, demolish this building, but no one's going to shoot at you or anything. You just go and do it.
I think you're probably right. I mean, the best bits of those guerrilla actions are probably the raids, the destruction challenges, and the occasional defense mission. Although it is retarded that you can defend a place successfully, and then literally seconds later they'll go, "Oh my gosh, they're about to mount an attack, so you'll have to go back there."
I think that's just sort of a mistake they made when they were programming that they didn't tell it to wait for a period of time. It's just as soon as that mission becomes available, it just scrolls through all of them.
It was pretty cool that it escalated the second time, though. So the fight was considerably harder. But you know what I mean? It's just things move on. I'm willing at this stage to put it down to the fact that I'm still in what is essentially the first proper area of the game. I'm in Dust. I don't count Parker because it's tiny. Yeah, and Dust is, by the looks of the map, the biggest area of the game. So maybe there's far more guerrilla actions than there should be, just because of the the size of the area. They thought they could do more in it. And,
I don't know about that. But you still definitely don't need to do them all to keep them around up in any of the other sectors. There's still like an oversupply, certainly.
Well, yeah. The bit that I can't quite understand is why there are so many of these little things, and it would have been better to add more actual missions, because they're fairly varied, let's be honest. They put you in some quite nice different scenarios, because it's not just one thing. You have to then go do another thing and then go do another thing all in one go, and they're quite nice.
That's the meat of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, they still feel sandboxy. Well, yeah, that's where the main game lies, but there's, compared to the number of other stuff you can do, they're few and far between. It's like Mass Effect 1.
So is the only thing that you're working towards, if you're doing these guerrilla mission things, you're boosting your morale up, but you keep filling it all the way full.
Yeah, basically. The only reason you end up keep doing them is because of the achievements. Basically, all of the achievements are do all of this thing.
Right.
And which is pretty harsh, actually, really. The achievements are quite annoying. For instance, there are things to find in the world that, like, there's 300-odd ore deposits and stuff.
Right.
And some of them are quite out of the way, and there's nothing on the map to tell you where they are, like, if you've missed them or something.
They have, like, a little purple dot.
Yeah, only on the minimap.
But it's super tiny.
So if you miss them while you're driving around or whatever...
You can actually see them on the overview map. If you, zoom in, they're just, like, a little tiny black square.
Yeah, but how are you going to tell that?
And that doesn't tell you which ones you've already mined, which is the trouble. It's just like, you just have to sort of know where you've been.
I know what I mean, but the achievements for that and for the EDF supply crates are find all of them.
Yeah, but it's not. That's the thing that I discovered.
Oh, really?
It's like, there's an achievement for EDF supply crates and propaganda, and I can't remember what the other one was. Some other destroy something, but you don't. It's not all of them, even though it practically says in the achievement destroy all the whatevers, destroy all propaganda. It's like it's not literally all. There's like quite a few extra. There's several extra propaganda, and there's a shit ton of extra EDF supply crates. It's like in the last couple of EDF bases I went into, there was literally EDF supply crates stacked on top of other EDF supply crates. At which point I'd already done the achievement, so it's like, oh, it's quite a few extra here.
Oh, that's okay. So the number that appears in the game isn't actually the total. That's just what you've got to get to.
Yeah, it seems like it. Although all deposits, I didn't find all of them, so that suggests that probably is all.
Okay. And there's the recording to find as well, which are even harder to find because they only flash briefly on the mini-map.
As you're driving past.
And they're even more out of the way, so there might be quite a few that aren't anywhere near the beaten track.
And you get those stupid giant bombs from them. It's just like, I never used one of those.
I used one because I was going to try and take out the high priority target in Dust. But I think I should have brought a slightly hardier vehicle because I barely got halfway up the road to them before it started suffering. And so I got this lovely massive explosion that did fuck all. So I'm like, well, that was a waste. And then promptly died because I was in the middle of the open getting shot at by those Gauss cannon things. So then it's like, and then the game auto-saved, and it's like, well, fuck, I can't even get it back.
It's kind of awkward, that whole. It's like you could equip them, even what you'd think would be hardy vehicles like the EDF APC or whatever, and don't actually have very much health. So it's like even putting a fucking giant bomb on one of those is not necessarily the best plan. It's like really when you have.
I love those dump trucks though.
Oh, what, those huge ones?
Yeah, because they're super hard. You can just run through everything. They're great.
I kind of like how it's awesome where if you have a vehicle that has extra seats, you get all the gorillas climbing into it and sitting in the back of the dump truck as you drive along. That's kind of awesome.
I did picture monkeys just then. I do apologise.
Oh, gorillas!
What? You just get gorillas in the back of a dump truck. They're playing cards for some reason.
Well, of course. If you're going to have gorillas in a truck, why not play cards?
One of them has a monocle.
Yes, I imagine he does.
I like how you're not combating that. It's just like, yes. And?
But yeah, that was kind of a neat animation thing that they did there with how they climb in the appropriate spots in the vehicle and stuff.
Yeah, there are some neat touches like the conversations they have. Well, they're not really conversations, but the odd one-liners they say sort of change depending on how many people you have in the truck and things, which is kind of cool. like some of them also like usually there's like on the way to a raid or something you'll have more than one people, so there'll be one guy shouting commands at the others every now and then, like check your ammo. We're probably coming back in body bags. Real inspiring stuff.
Yeah, they always sound so enthusiastic.
Yep, and most of the comments are, "We're gonna die."
They always whine a lot whenever you're like ramping off anything and hitting the ground slightly hard. They're like, "Oh
yeah, like
shut up, you pansies!"
There was one time where I broke. You know, I put on the brakes, and someone in the vehicle just went, "Ugh!"
Hey,
yeah,
that's because he was trying to deal.
My coffee.
He was trying to deal, and his monocle fell out.
Oh no! My word.
I say.
Yes, that gorilla was not happy. Yes.
But
it seems to me like
anyway, there's Red Faction. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It just for some reason
seems to me like what you're saying about this repetitive stuff. That if you're playing like Borderlands or something where you were getting all kinds of fat loot every time you did something, you know, you wouldn't be so put off, you know, by having to do the same thing over and over.
And you don't have the problem in Borderlands of you having to really return to somewhere quite so often, because there's like vending machines where you can sell off your shit in most of the time and in very useful locations and stuff. So you don't always have to keep driving back to this safe house to clear your wanted level and then driving back out to where you want to go. And
the trick there, I suppose, might be that, well, the thing is, the stupid wanted level in Red Faction is the classic kind of like, you don't even have to like keep moving to lose it. It's like if you get out of line of sight and then you just sit there for a while, it just goes away.
Yeah, but that takes a very long time. It's almost easier to drive back to the safe house half the time.
But it's like you can like be on the way back to the safe house and then it disappears and you're just like, oh right, I don't have to go all the way. And then you get the stupid thing later on where you can just teleport directly to safe houses, which is useful if you're in the middle of nowhere. I'm not sure if you can actually.
That's cool.
I think you may be able to use that even when you have an alert, which would be really dumb. But I didn't check that.
Yeah, you just finish destroying some serious shit, and then you just go teleport out of danger. Haha.
Yep, just like ding. I have to say,
fucking cheap.
It's like I finished Red Faction this week, so I can talk about this as well conveniently, just to link this in.
Wait, are we gonna have to shout spoiler alert first?
Well, I can basically. You must surely already know how it's going to end because it's really obvious the whole way through, and it's like there is a tiny sort of miniature plot twist thing, but it's basically totally irrelevant.
Wait! I got this. Everybody dies.
Well, a lot of people die. Mason doesn't die, of course. You have to survive so you can be Victory Man.
So you can be in the film. Recall? Oh no, it's not a film. TV series, isn't it?
TV series.
Yeah.
TV series.
No, it's not a series. It's like a TV film.
TV movie or something.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
Straight to DVD kind of thing.
But yeah, it basically towards the end of the game, things start getting really dumb because I mentioned last time you get that like sniper rifle that can shoot through buildings with its X-ray scope.
Yeah,
that just makes all the last few missions ridiculously easy, or at least the last sort of freeing the last area missions. Because basically the last two missions in the last area, well, not quite last area, but I'll get onto that in a minute. The last freeable area are like, there's one where the EDF have snipers on the buildings and they're shooting all the civilians. So it's just like you don't even have to go inside the building, just look through the building and snipe the snipers. That was really cheap. And then there was another one where it's like, the civilian council are having a meeting in the building. They're all traitors. We have to kill them. So it's like, and again, I'm just going to sit on top of this hill, look through the floor of the building, and snipe them from miles away. So it's just like, lol, sniping. But then after
railguns.
It's like after you do that, things get totally crazy, basically. And the end of the game is like a lot of missions in a row, basically. So it is more like proper missions and less pissing around.
Well, that's cool. At least it winds up.
Yeah, it does wind up pretty insanely. It's like drive this tank to the top of a hill and fight the big bad guy at the end, and he's in the tank. But it's like I didn't quite manage to do it because it's like my tank got destroyed halfway up the hill, and I was like, oh fuck, no, I'm screwed. I'm being shot from like a million different angles because there's billions of bad guys all over the place. But somehow I got through that, and then I got up to the top of the hill, and there's just an enemy tank there, and I'm like, shit. But conveniently, he was really retarded and kept trying to run me over while I was carrying singularity bombs. So I was just like, drop singularity bomb, tank drives onto it, takes hell of damage. So I really cheaped out because I didn't have any other explosives. It's like I didn't even have a rocket launcher or anything. So it's like, how am I going to kill this tank? Oh well, he would just drive onto these singularities. How you handy?
You would have been screwed if it hadn't like tried to run you over. Then I guess.
Yeah, if the AI was slightly better at driving, it's like because I moved behind a wall. It's like, oh no, I don't have line of sight to him. I'd better drive really close.
I think what was clearly happening was that in the sky there was someone playing Command and Conquer who was like, "Oh, I could use the Alt key and click on." Yeah, what was the key you had to hold down for running people over with tanks instead of shooting?
I think it was Alt. Yeah.
Yeah, hold down Alt and click on the enemy, and it'll try and run them over. That was clearly he was trying to do it for the bragging rights. And he hadn't reckoned on your singularity bombs.
Yeah, that was really super. Yeah, so the end of the storyline is lots of basically tanks and mechs. There's like a whole assault on a base where you just get a combat mech, and it's like, woo, missiles! Destroying the shit out of everything, walking through buildings. It's all fun times.
Awesome.
So
yeah, it's more enjoyable at the end, I'd say, but there is quite a lot of grind.
Do you like it overall?
Of course, you
then?
don't need all the salvage, probably.
Oh, good.
I'd say it's pretty awesome overall.
Cool.
Yeah. Just. It's hard to say like don't do so much of the grinding because I mean obviously there's achievements, so that's the first thing that automatically makes you go, oh, I'll have to do all of these missions, obviously. But then it's like you don't need all of the salvage that it gives you. But I'm hesitant to say like don't get it all because you do need quite a lot. The last couple of upgrades are like 2,000 salvage or something for the thermobaric missiles.
Right, and they're worth it then.
Yeah. Actually, that was also pretty cheap. It's like when you get the thermobaric missiles, demolishing any building becomes incredibly easy. It's just like, fire one missile, the entire thing explodes. Success!
Sweet.
That's how I did the last high priority target. It was just like, I'm going to climb up onto this hill using my jetpack, and then just fire a giant explosive rocket at it. And boom, and then it's all dead. Jetpack is also pretty funny when you get that towards the end.
I was about to say, do the backpacks turn up in the actual game?
Yeah, only the jetpack. It's sort of a shame that they didn't use the other ones because some of them are fairly funny, like the Rhino charge or whatever, busting through walls. But yeah,
although
jetpack,
they don't really make much sense, like destroying walls with your face.
Well, it has like that weird force shield thing that goes, it's like and like warps in front of you or whatever.
I'm not entirely sure I'd be too willing to try it. You know, unlike Alec Mason, who just sort of goes, "Oh yeah, fuck yeah, I'll do anything."
Yeah, that is sort of a true part of the story, isn't it? Whereas Alec Mason, right at the start, he's like, "I don't want to be in the Red Faction, fuck you guys," and then they're just like, "Go blow this shit up all by yourself," and he's like, "Okay."
I love that in games when you just do anything for anyone that asks. That seems like especially in RPGs and stuff, I guess. But like even in like Red Dead Guerrilla, it's like it's that people
Red Dead Guerrilla.
Red Dead Redemption, you know.
That would be a great crossover.
You know what I'm talking about. What's it? I was trying to get it right because I was trying not to say Red Faction, and so I said Red Dead. I got that part right, and then I got the last part wrong. Yeah, but even in that game, the cowboy game, it's like people always asking you to do stuff, and you're like, okay, I will, and it's like, why? You just ignore them. And...
Yeah. Mass Effect has that problem as well, doesn't it? It's like you meet some well, admittedly, a lot of the time you can say no, but then you'll be missing out on shit. So it's like.
It's not as bad in the sequel because they took that on board because one of the PC Gamer guys just took an example of one of the things in the first Mass Effect where you're on the Citadel and there's these two people wife
having
and
a conversation,
husband, having a conversation, and they're deciding what to do about their child or whatever, unborn child, whether to like abort it or something, or what's it, some kind of treatment that will stop gene therapy. And they're like, what are we going to do? A life-changing decision. Let's ask this random person on the street.
Well, no, they don't ask you. You just sort of, or
yeah,
is it one of those moments where you just sort of go,
you sort of say, hello. Is there a problem here? And then within literally 5 minutes of conversation, you've managed to like convince them one way or the other, and it's like, this would never happen. And I
guess, no, you don't convince them, do you? Like one of the outcomes is you convince one of them, and of course the other one still disagrees, but goes "fuck you."
Is that it? Oh, maybe if you have the charm
piss
thing,
one of them
you can
off,
fix
but,
it. I can't remember, but even so, it is absolutely ridiculous, and they did kind of take that on board, I think, and because the BioWare people read that and thought it was hilarious.
But it's not really like that in Red Faction. It's not like people asking you to do things. It's just like the literal missions where it's like, we're going to send you in against this base, and it's going to be hella dangerous, and we're not even going to give you practically any backup. And Mason seems very okay with this. He's like, clearly he's the only person on Mars who has learnt the trick of regenerating health.
Yeah.
Because really, when you're playing a role, you're in a role-playing game or in an action game, you are almost acting the part, aren't you? And you're literally asking yourself, "Where's my motivation?" Aren't you sometimes?
Yeah. Mason has that problem, doesn't he? Because he just sort of turns up and it's like, he'll do anything for anyone. And I'm blabbing here because I've slightly forgotten the point of where I was going.
Yes, this was a whole bit was fairly convoluted, I have to say. I don't think I got a point across very well either.
I think you did.
Did I stall enough for you there?
No, it was good. Lots of different details.
No, I've gone. It's gone. Moment has passed. There was something about Mason and, the fact that everyone suddenly means, that was it. I find it weird that by the time you get to Dust or everything, everyone's sort of going, everyone knows who you are, yet somehow the EDF don't recognise you quite so rapidly. They still do, but you know what I mean? It's like every colonist you pass goes, we've got to help Mason, or keep fighting Mason. And it's like, how the fuck do you know who I am?
Well, they're
I've
like
only been doing this for like 2 hours.
They're like hidden guerrillas or whatever. It's like if you start fighting, they're like, oh shit, Mason started fighting, we better fight too. It's like, because you're like, it's maybe a little weird that you become the figurehead of the Red Faction so incredibly quickly. It's like, I freed Parker, holy fuck, now everyone loves me.
Because obviously in Half-Life 2, you're the free man, but it's been like years since you did all your heroic stuff, so it's been a chance for everyone to learn your name.
It's
and
a bit of legend,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if you just turn up and start fighting for them, and within about 2 hours, they're all like, "Hey, it's Mason, let's fight with him."
Maybe if you'd done something more impressive at the start, rather than just demolishing an building, and then
running the fuck away,
towers over.
That was basically it, wasn't it? It's like destroying some stuff and running the fuck away. That's what you did. Oh, very heroic.
Yeah.
Nice one, Mason. Cockblock.
Is he called Mason because, he's the opposite of a Mason. He destroys buildings, doesn't he? So he's not really living...
There's some irony there.
Is that it? The sledgehammer? Yeah. What's the masonry symbol? It's like it's a measuring thing, a compass thing, isn't it? I think, isn't it?
What, the stonemasons, you mean?
Yeah, or whatever, yeah. Because a hammer is like hammer and sickle, isn't it? It's like communist ideology, I guess, isn't it? Hammer, farming in general, I don't know.
Red Faction, lol.
Red Faction.
Basically, you're a communist.
You're a commie, yeah.
But that is basically the whole point of this game, isn't it? It's like, free Mars for the people, or whatever.
That's right, yeah.
Communist state. Go. And of course there's that fucked up Jenkins guy who's just all like, man, I'm going to teach myself to breathe carbon dioxide. It's the Mars way.
He's awesome.
I like the majority of guerrillas in the 20th century, guerrilla fighters, and I don't mean the apes this time, are communist, aren't they?
Rape and
I don't know, Viet Cong or in Latin America or Cuba, they're all fighting for communist causes, aren't they, of guerrillas?
That's only coincidentally because communism isn't so popular as, all the other. So they become the smaller party.
Oh my gosh, THQ are communist.
It's not like if democracy was the smaller party, they would be incapable of having guerrillas.
That's true. That's true.
No, actually, I think it's like the best of two worlds, though. They've got dictatorship versus communism. It's like, in that respect, communism's probably not so bad.
Oh no, communism is great if you can get it to work. It's just nobody ever manages to get it to work. It always devolves into authoritarian because
you can bet after the end of Red Faction that they'd be all totally fucked. It's mainly because they fuck up so much infrastructure in their guerrilla raids. It's like, I'm going to destroy this garbage disposal plant and the mining facilities and the diggers. It's like, so what exactly are you going to do after you win?
Yeah.
They don't think to capture them, do they? It's like, oh, it's a wind farm. Like, we could fucking use that for electricity and shit, to live.
Yeah, but for some reason those wind farms only supply EDF
communists.
buildings, and therefore we must destroy them right now, and not worry about when we've captured the EDF buildings after we've defeated them.
Except every single important thing is an EDF thing, so it's just like, well, okay, what have we left you with?
We'll destroy an entire goddamn bridge because it's an EDF symbol or something. Yeah, that's a good plan.
That's helpful. How do we get across the ravine now, bitches?
Fortunately, you just drive around.
Oh yeah, jetpack. Everyone has jetpacks.
Fortunately, there's not a road that goes around the edge of the ravine. It's just like, it's a longer route.
It's a communist state, though, so jetpacks for everyone.
Yeah, obviously.
If you have the means, I guess if you destroy all the factories, it's going to be hard to build these jetpacks, isn't it?
Yeah,
and yet you can make everything out of salvage. So I guess you just need that Solania woman to make everyone jetpacks. That'll only take quite a long time.
So do they make food out of salvage?
Well, I guess you don't really see where they get food, or all these how they have beer all the time. Like colonists are constantly drunk and like staggering around holding beers. It's like, where do those come from?
I think that's just how they're animated.
What, you mean? Badly or
swaggery anyway.
Or drunken.
No, they don't do. You distinctly see, holding beers and.
Oh, okay.
Oozing.
I haven't got that far then.
Well, you might just not have noticed because you don't really see. There's not really very often in Red Faction where there's civilians just walking around normally. It's like normally they're just like running in fear or whatever. Of all the shit that you're just exploding.
I swear there was one time where I just turned up somewhere, got out of a car, and someone ran away, and it's like, okay. I suppose everyone knows me, so they were just running away from the inherent explosions.
Yeah, what was coming?
What was inevitable? Yeah.
I have to say, it's like following on from what you said last week about the getting out of car physics. Some of that is hilarious. I mean, while it's pretty cool that how sometimes they animate getting out of the car depending on which way it's orientated. Like if you flipped it or something, the way they get out is kind of cool.
Yeah,
like
they
crawling out of the window and stuff. However, sometimes you can park it at odd angles. Like I managed to get the car on its side, basically up a mountain, and get it wedged on a rock or something. So I got out the door. He got out nice and casually into thin air, and then promptly fell over in dramatic fashion. And sort of fell pretty much down.
Ragdoll time.
Yeah, that was quite funny. And there was another one where I opened the door of a car, except I think the door of the car hit him on the way, so he just sort of flew off. So it was like, donk. That was quite funny.
Casual.
Also, but I'm a bit annoyed. The controls for getting into vehicles when you're in a stress is a bit finicky as well, because you have to not push any movement buttons after you get it, otherwise it thinks you're detaching.
Yeah, you have to commit. It's like you press the get in button, and then you have to not press anything until you're in.
Yeah, and it's too easy for you to just keep pushing towards the vehicle. It's sort of say, get in, you fucker.
Yeah.
And does that cancel the I want to get in then if you're pushing towards it after you've pressed it?
Yeah.
Apparently I sound like Alan Partridge. I'm being told I sound like Alan Partridge from afar.
Well, Alan Partridge is on the radio, so might be appropriate. Radio Norwich, isn't it? That was the fictional. He was fictional DJ on Radio Norwich, BBC.
For you American listeners,
is that right? Yes. And did you hear that Stephen Fry has joined the board of Norwich City Football Club?
Boo.
Along with Delia Smith, who's been there for years.
Why is everyone obsessed with Norwich?
I don't know.
Is it like celebrities? Fuck yeah, Norwich.
I don't understand why, but never mind.
Well, it's not the Chuckle Brothers, so we're probably still good.
Oh man, just imagine if they took over Ipswich. There'd be a new dawn.
They supported
tiredness.
One of the northern teams, presumably.
Burnley.
It may well have been.
Could have been any of them. So, Rob, have you played anything else? You said you've been playing Exploration, but
yes.
you went straight into the major game that you've been playing.
Yeah. We'll go back to demo front. All right, what haven't I been playing? All right, I pretty much experimented with most of the Summer of Arcade titles, including Limbo. I'll start with that because it's probably the most standout of the lot.
This year's Braid, as it is also known.
Yeah, basically. It's totally deserving of that title because it's basically, it's survivalist platforming. You have to just get from beginning to the end. If you die, it doesn't fucking matter because you only appear like a few seconds ago.
Okay, cool.
Like at the start of each section. So it's quite nice. It's just essentially puzzle platforming, a bit like Braid. You just got to try and work out how to get through the level, not so much pick anything up, just how to get through that particular section. But
like Portal, almost.
Yeah,
except
basically.
not like Portal, but the only goal is to get to the end. It's like, yeah.
But yeah, its defining features really are the physics engine, which is pretty cool. In that, most of the puzzles are physics-like. Don't look bad, even though they're scripted. They look, most of them will be scripted and stuff, but they seem to have a fairly decent engine powering them. Like the way you move around the world feels realistic. The way you sort of grab onto ledges and stuff, the way ropes move and things like that. It all looks very good and sort of believable. But the other thing is just the super creepy The Ring aesthetic.
Right, yeah.
Like the video in The Ring or something with that sort of filter effect applied on it to make it all sort of weird at the edges and a bit grainy film and stuff. The whole game looks like that.
Yeah.
In monochrome. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's weird because they've made the sound they only add sound that's necessary. So the whole game is pretty much silent apart from your actions in the world and things that are happening.
Oh. Okay.
So it's really
score.
eerie. Well, there is, but it's only used, as far as I can tell, on the title screen and on the trailer video. The rest of the demo has nothing.
Oh, okay.
But so it creates a unique feel, and I don't know. I think it's 800 or 1200 points, which might be a bit steep because it's supposed to be dead short.
Yeah.
The demo isn't particularly long. Once you've mastered how to do it, you can breeze through it in like a minute. Well, okay, a bit longer than that, but 3 or 4 minutes at most.
I hear it gets quite hard at the end. Well, not so hard that you can't do it, but so despite it being short, you might get a bit stumped for a little while or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Braid, really. It's like there were certain puzzles on that I'm not quite sure how I solved. Shit just happened. So I imagine you probably don't get that in Limbo, but
right.
Because of the time travel nature of Braid, it's possible for things just to happen accidentally, whereas Limbo's everything's very precise and deliberate. So it's, but I'd recommend it, definitely. But I'd probably wait for it. No, because I still think it's steep.
Right, okay. So you're going to wait for it to come down.
And I'm trying not to buy games at the moment, to be perfectly honest.
Fair enough. So it's sort of a creepy feel then, is it? I heard it was quite depressing and like...
Well, because you play a kid and it's just surprisingly gory.
Right.
For all being black and white and stuff, there's man traps and you stand on them and your head gets cut off because it's just the precise height for the claws of this man trap to get you at neck level.
Nasty.
And you can get impaled through the head by giant spiders. And
okay.
It's all fairly gruesome, but because it's depicted entirely in black, it's not so bad. But
I see. But how stark is the black and white? It's not like a concept game, like fully black and white.
No, it is absolutely, completely monochrome. No colour at all.
But grayscale, right? Not.
Oh yeah, grayscale. No, it's not like our idea of concept where we literally restricted ourselves to a colour palette of 3.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not just silhouettes then, or.
No. It's basically the important stuff is all solid black, but like backgrounds and stuff will give like levels of grey to indicate you're going into dark places or slightly darker places, and smoke effects and things. And it also applies this like cool depth of field effect, so stuff can be affected in the background, but because it's not in the same plane as you, it tends to be blurry. Which is quite nice.
Oh, that's clever.
It's a very clever aesthetic. It's very functional, but at the same time good looking. That you don't get confused with what's important and what's not.
Right.
It's very good, very clever.
Okay, I will look into that.
Yeah, but it'll probably be one I might pick up if it becomes a deal of the week, like a year or 2 away.
Okay, because it's not going to diminish in kind of appeal, is it? In the same way as.
No, in the same way that Braid is still awesome.
Exactly.
If you're after a game of that type, it's not going to age.
I wonder if Soldier Boy will make another comedy video about
yeah, but you can't reverse time. He's not going to go, oh,
damn, the spider shot me through the head.
Yeah, he might get all excited about, oh my god, but he wouldn't be like, oh man, look at this dude, he's so geeky, and his time goes backwards. Like, dude.
What happened? He'll like smoke loads of weed and get really paranoid, and then he'll play it and like get even more paranoid.
Oh fuck. Speaking of that, right? I was.
Yeah.
Speaking of. Well, it's I was actually looking for ideas, like whether I should get something for Zach for his birthday, which is coming up on Monday.
So you're thinking like an 8th?
Well, yeah. Well, no, I was thinking like, well, should I get him like a gift game on Steam? And this might be giving it away a little, because I basically sort of like started to run out of ideas and thought, well, there's not really anything here that falls into a Zach-like category. So I'll just give the game away now and say, fuck it, he might just
get him Railworks,
something out.
All the expansions.
Yeah, and all the fucking expansions cost like £1 million.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, but I saw this weird game when I was browsing, like in the indie section, called Eversion.
Right.
Do you guys know anything about this?
No, never heard of it.
It's a bit weird because from initial look, it looks like a very cutesy, very old school platformer, sort of with a sort of. Do you remember New Zealand's Story?
I really don't. No.
Where you played a Kiwi. But or Rainbow Islands is probably the more famous one. You know, where they all sort of had that back in the day, where all the arcades had that same font and for text and stuff Bubble Bobble sort of font look. And,
right, yeah.
It looks like that's it. It looks like Alex Kidd, the Sega platformer, specifically the Master System version, not the Mega Drive one. But it looks like that, and it looks like a really, really retro platformer. Except you delve deeper into the description of the game, and it says things like it will set you on edge, and the trailer is presented in a really sort of. It looks like an old school game, except they've done it with this grainy filter again, and sort of like old creepy music. And even worse, the achievements seem to suggest that as you progress through the game, everything gets a bit sinister and a bit dark, and it's like, what the fuck? So I'm quite intrigued by it, actually.
Okay. But you're not going to buy it as a present.
well, I might if he wants it. Yeah. You know, it's only a few quid, so it's a bit of a cheap present. But you know, it's kind of the tradition with us.
That's true. That really is. It's either like something really cheap or some kind of awesome like construction job. Like Zach made me this freaking awesome like magic card holder thing, which I've probably still got somewhere.
Oh yeah.
It didn't stay together.
Or even earlier than that, Zach made me some authentic wood blocks.
Authentic, eh?
Well, yeah, for like going tick tick.
Holy fuck, I don't know
Yeah,
that.
do you remember those? You like carved some wood blocks or something that were a bit bendy, but they made an awesome sound.
Oh, what, you mean like out of a literal tree branch?
Something like that, yeah. I don't know quite how you did it, because they were actually like, you know, quite good.
That may not have been, you know, intentional as a present.
Oh, okay, maybe it just
that could well have been scouts or something. Who knows?
And then it was
That's
like,
the kind of shit they do.
Oh, mate, and maybe you're like, I don't fucking want these. Do you want them?
I think that's probably more likely.
Maybe I'm remembering it in a slightly better light.
Yeah.
You bastard. Ruined. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I thought that was kind of cool, interesting. That might be worth further investigation.
Definitely.
But anyway, other things under investigation. Other Summer of Arcade game, Hydro Thunder.
Oh, sweet! I hear that's good. I mean, I've been vaguely excited about that, and you guys have been a bit meh. It's not going to be as good as it used to be.
And I'm still that way. It's
right. Okay.
To be honest, it plays pretty much exactly like it used to, which pretty much. It's right down to the bits of the presentation as well, which are pretty much the same, and the way that it shouts everything as you're selecting. so you know, you pick like you pick the ship and it still shouts out. Yeah, if you select an extreme boat, yes, it does.
That's awesome.
It still does that, although it doesn't have the siren that you hear in the background. It still says you're crazy, but it doesn't go like.
Well, it had like flame sound effect in the background when you were selecting the extreme gun. Like,
Well, you can still actually no. I reckon I know what that might still be in the game, but normally when it's a car you've unlocked, you can hear its engine noise. So maybe if you get like to the end of it, the engine of the Extreme Craft is like flame or something.
It was literally just flame in the old Hydro Thunder. It was like the burning sound of.
And if it's included in the game, the Chum Dinger is hidden, so I couldn't see that.
Oh,
the Chum Dinger. But yeah, no, it plays pretty much the same, other than they've simplified certain elements. For instance, you don't the jumping mechanic in the original Hydro Thunder was a bit weird, wasn't it? Like you had to do like a boost
or whatever.
And a break or something or other as you hit the water, wasn't it? From a jump or could you just jump
wave
normally?
Or whatever?
Yeah, there was.
It helped if you were like landing.
Oh yeah, you could get really big ones. Like if you just landed from some serious air, because you used the buoyancy of the water, you basically bounced super high.
Yeah.
But they've basically simplified this into a single button press, which doesn't feel nearly as cool.
No.
Okay.
Also,
it was like you had to get awesome at doing the boost jump so you could get into the secret routes.
Yeah, exactly. But
Whereas now if it's just like a one button
easy.
push.
Yeah, finding the shortcuts is a piece of piss. Really not as cool as it used to be. You also lose when you're boosting that sort of white glowy state that you used to go into, so you can mash other shit out of the way. Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore, which is a bit of a bugger. For an arcade racer, that was kind of cool. So that doesn't exist. You still get the random other boats driving around occasionally that seem to be as quick as you. Like
like the second boats or whatever.
Yeah, the second level in the demo has a pirate ship that follows you around that can somehow be as fast as your boosting speed.
With like sails.
Yeah, it's fucked up. that whole level's a bit weird. It's like a fantasy sort of world and stuff.
It should be like Somalian pirates with like an outboard motor, like AK-47s.
And they occasionally sort of go, which you can hear over the engine noises, of course. Yeah, so I don't know. It's not bad. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. Weirdly, there seems to the buoyancy part of water doesn't seem to exist. It's like driving on road, basically. Like you don't sort of bounce around as much as you expect on the water, except when there's like a big wave or something that sort of actually causes you to get air or something, and then you end up going straight into a wall. But generally the water isn't that great. Like if you jump from a big height or something, you sort of expect to go under the water a bit and then bounce up. But no, you just sort of go boosh, and you're driving as normal, like with no real bounce to it. There's something wrong with the feel, and that's not as cool as it used to be.
I mean, that's the sort of thing you'd think they could improve with modern technology, like the water.
Yeah.
Not just graphically, but also physically, if you get my meaning.
Yeah, while I totally understand what they were going for, it is a proper Hydro Thunder game in the sense that they've got everything right apart from the feel. And maybe it's just me looking it through with, like, retro eyes or whatever, but it doesn't feel the same as I remember it.
Okay.
For better or worse, maybe it's a better control system, I don't know, but it's not. I was expecting that same sort of slightly loose handling, because you expect from water and stuff. And
right, yeah.
Don't know about it, to be honest. And again, I think it's $1,200 again, so it's a reasonably higher priced Eklar game.
Interesting. Okay.
Moving on. Death Spank.
The game with the most retarded title in history.
Death Spank. Okay, I have to give this one serious props. It's doing a very good thing here. Action RPG, developed by the same guys that did Penny Arcade Adventures.
Yeah.
Bringing the humour and everything with it. They seem to have picked it up off the guys, but lost the crude, so they could get a bigger audience, I think. So it's not all about shit and holy fuck, did you see that giant fucking robot? Fucking hell.
And hobos kind of pissing on things.
And hobos meat, and and a urinologist, and and motherfucking mimes. It's all of that is gone, but that doesn't mean it's not funny. It is still very, very funny.
Like, you think it's funny?
Yeah, it's genius. Just like when you go to, how a lot of games will have that unlock the game screen. It doesn't just have one of those. It has a quote that goes with it and things like that. Like Death Spank will say things, he's the hero of the game, by the way. It's not just the name. Like, the hero is actually called Deathspank, and he'll say like a quote to sort of make you buy it. Like one of the first ones I heard was, "Here's one: you have the opportunity of saving the world with your wallet," and which is kind of cool. But the cooler one was, "If you buy just one game this year, you're not playing enough games." Didn't actually have a sales pitch at all. It's just, there we go. That's fair enough.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very cool. It's quite simplistic, and it's like it plays a bit like a hack and slash, but with Z targeting, so you can target who you want to hit, and or L
so it's,
targeting, as I guess it would be.
So
it's
like
not played.
Penny Arcade,
it's not played. No,
Okay.
definitely not. It's not like a turn-based RTS. It's more of an action RPG, and so you control yourself in the world. It's
right 3D,
and everything happens in real time. Yeah, and like the first thing you have to do is take out a squad of vicious chickens, which are quite satisfying.
Okay.
Walk, to save this poor demon witch's dragon larvae, because these vicious chickens are supposedly eating them. But I don't know, it's a bit strange. But yeah, it looks like it's got a lot of promise.
I'm going to have to try this to be convinced, because
Yeah,
it sounds
that's
quite
the thing.
retarded from this end. But...
It is hard to describe. You resurrect in outhouses. They're your save and load points, basically. When you die, you come out of a toilet.
Oh, great. Lovely. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me a bit like, do you remember the Tick cartoon?
Yeah.
It has more than a passing resemblance to that. Like, Deathspank actually looks a little bit like the Tick.
Like the Tick, okay.
But I think it's good. It left a good impression on me.
It was kind of satirical, wasn't it, of the superhero kind of genre at a time when that was, unusual. I guess you get a lot of, now you've got superhero movies, you get a lot of popular culture like sending up of the superhero genre, but at the time when the Tick was around, there weren't many send-ups of it. It was all quite serious. Not serious, but, comics were comics. And then you had the Tick, who was like, crazy or whatever.
Yeah, the Tick was unique at the time, but now it's a kind of trodden path. But I don't know. I still think it's, when done well, it still works, and this is a good example.
So is Deathspank a superhero then, with a really bad name?
Self-proclaimed superhero who spent his life adventuring around, going through untold heroic acts, such as staying in the desert for a week. Turns out he stayed in Las Vegas, but never mind.
I guess Kick-Ass would be an example of a modern kind of send-up of comic book characters, wouldn't it?
Kinda, although that wasn't really a... It's hard to say, isn't it, with Kick-Ass, because it wasn't really a piss take. It was just sort of this could actually happen.
Yeah.
Well, to a point. Apart from the jetpack Gatling gun, but...
yeah, that kind of stuff. And the ridiculous stereotype gangster characters who are so hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh,
true.
so Deathspank.
But anyway, that's quite promising, and the presentation has definitely gone up a notch since the Penny Arcade days.
Okay.
I think Hothead have definitely upped their game. Not that I'm saying that the Penny Arcade games are bad, but they've that there was always something a bit weird about the presentation. It didn't feel quite solid enough, you know what I mean? Which was fine for a live arcade game, because most of them don't do presentation well at all anyway. But there was always something not quite right about it. But they've definitely upped their game here. It looks pretty pro. So good on them. Seriously, keep it up.
Cool. Okay, good news then.
Yeah.
Good news, everyone.
What else have I tried? Did I talk about Flower last week? I think I did.
I don't remember that. Go ahead, talk about Flower.
We tried that. The demo they finally made a demo version. So we
I
gave that
see.
a fly.
Oh, right. This is the old PS3 game. Not old, but yeah.
It's not a new game, but they released a demo for it at last. And,
okay.
A good advertisement for 6-axis control. That's basically what the game is. It's a lesson in how to do flight with a 6-axis controller. Because that's pretty much the entire game. Fly around as a petal to touch other flowers. And in doing so, it opens up other areas and you progress like that. So as a game, it's really simple. But my God, it's pretty.
Right.
Just the I don't know. There's something. It's not like they're very massively impressive graphics, but there's just an aesthetic niceness to all the wavy grass and all the flowers. It makes you wish a place like that existed.
Yeah,
it's very unconvincing grass. It's like, where is there anywhere that grass grows that long? So
where there's nothing
over the entire surface.
Yeah, where there's pretty much nothing but grass, the occasional rock, and like a rose or a daffodil type flower.
I think the game itself, not just the demo, but I think if you play through it, it has like an eco message where things start to look
definitely.
not so nice or something, doesn't it?
The game starts out as you in a sort of bustling city, and everything. Your flat has like a broken window and stuff. And after you complete the first level, everything fixes up a bit. The town gets a bit cleaner, and so it does carry a bit of an ecological message where it's like, well, keep it clean, guys.
Keep it green. But do you think 6-axis flight is actually viable for a normal game? I say normal.
Sure. Theoretically, the 6-axis controller is just as good as the Wiimote for most of the stuff when you use the Wiimote on the side, for instance.
Right.
Like for I don't know, Excite Truck style control.
Oh God!
If you imagine,
not my personal favourite, but yeah.
But yeah, no, that was cool.
You guys played a lot of that when that came out.
Excite Truck was fun.
That's awesome.
Back when you actually had the Wii plugged into your TV.
It is plugged in now, but yeah, there was a large period where it wasn't. Shows how much it gets used these days, other than for Smash Bros.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the 6-axis is totally capable of doing it, and it does it well, and it's responsive and works easily. I thought, because it's supposed to be a fairly intuitive control scheme and Flower's supposed to be a fairly relaxing game, that Naomi, my other half, who's a female non-gamer, might be able to handle it. And I got to admit, for a relaxing game, for me, as someone who knows these things and picks them up like nothing, it was an infuriating watch.
Yeah, it's impossible trying to watch people who can't play games. So even with the motion control, you'd think that would help, and I guess it does to a certain extent because you're not pressing buttons or anything.
Yeah, but there's something weird about it. I don't quite understand it. It's like the reaction times are slower than... For some reason, when they're playing a game, the reaction times get so unbelievably slow. It's like if you're in real life and you're walking and someone gets in the way or something, it's like an instant reaction to just dive out of the way or something. So it's not like... It's not like anyone has slow reaction times generally, but then you put that into a game world in a fairly sort of believable scenario that all you're doing is floating around and you're wanting to control where you go, and some reason that just fucks their minds right up.
Well, I'm not even sure that Flower is the most simple sort of motion control anyway, because it's sort of...
Well, okay, it is three-dimensional, which I suppose could be, and it is constant. You have to. You can't just stop doing it.
Yeah, it's not like, for instance, like my parents got quite good at playing like Tiger Woods on the Wii, and that's like you set up for the shot or whatever, and then you do the actual motion, and it's like so that's sort of a casual game where because it's not a constant thing. It's like you're you're able to prepare yourself to do the whatever it is that's required of you.
I suppose for a game like Flower, you need this concept of the center point. If you see what I mean, that in order to fly in a straight line, you need to train yourself. Yeah, well, it's not just that. When I mean the concept of the center point, you need to know where to put your hands in order to fly in a straight line, for instance. So you're not tilting left or right, you're not tilting up or down.
There's no
and returning to that point, returning to that point can be quite difficult. But the bit I don't understand, with new gamers is that you put someone on a steering wheel game, like Gnome tried Forza. A long time ago when I had the Xbox wheel out. Or was it Grid? No, it might have been Grid actually. Which I'll admit isn't the most realistic handling in the world.
No.
But they do that snake action, and she can drive a real car.
I know. I've got my dad to try.
But then that's another sort
with the steering wheel. He can't do it. It can't.
That's another sort of feedback. It's like because
possibly, but
even with force feedback,
driving,
it's
you
not
don't get
the same as.
Yeah, but possibly. But even driving, if you're driving a modern car, even like my 06 Focus, which isn't like the most high-tech vehicle in the world or whatever, there's a certain pull to center, but there isn't really much else you feel that's essential to you to going the right way. I suppose you get I suppose you get the slight G's in real life.
Yeah, there's no feedback to your body to tell you when you're in the middle in the computer game.
But I can't believe that those. Say if you're traveling slowly or whatever, because you couldn't even do it driving slowly. It's like when you're going, there can't be a massive amount of G-force if you're like just casually turning, like gentle curves or whatever.
I think it might be to a certain extent. Sometimes it's just 3D worlds confuse people who aren't used to them, and Naomi would probably be fine with playing a bit of Tetris or Mario Brothers, for example. Or
two-dimensional space, you mean?
Yeah, and then you have to step up to the 3D because the first time because it's quite an unusual thing if you're not used to it, putting yourself into navigating a 3D space. I think it's easier for men as well. I think that's one of the reasons that.
Well, yes, there's good logic for that, isn't there? Because supposedly we're much better at spatial awareness than ladies.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And when it's not even a real space, like I can think of video game levels that I haven't played for years, like Mario 64 or something, and I know the layout and I know where the things are. I know the landmarks.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, women tend to navigate by landmarks rather than by knowing relative spaces between things in their mind. They're more like, there's the pub, there's the, you know what I mean? And that's how they get around.
Yeah. I remember the place rather than the geometry.
Exactly, the geometry, and that's what's key in modern three-dimensional computer games, and I think it is a barrier in some ways to get that. I think it's one of the many reasons. The other reason, another obvious reason, is games are targeted directly at guys, marketing wise.
Yeah.
Like no girl is going to pick up Modern Warfare 2 on a shelf and think, oh, this is for me, are they?
Generally not, no.
I say no girl, maybe some, but I don't know. Anyway.
I know what you mean. But there's not many that would actually sort of, if we were to say stereotypical women at the risk of becoming a bit sexist, no one's going to like guns. They want.
But that's not their fault for being women. It's the fault of the people marketing it to the men, and they're only doing that because they know they can make more money that way.
And know that's where the demographic is. Yeah.
So it's a vicious circle in that respect. But yeah, new gamers in 3D worlds, you definitely need to ease them into it, and especially the first-person shooter controls of looking up and down and moving around, which has migrated to consoles only relatively recently since sort of Halo. That is a skill in itself that's like learning to ride a bicycle. I mean, once you've got it, you're fine. But at first, you're spinning around and, looking into the sky and, strafing.
Yeah, look centering is a difficult one.
Yeah, and you just don't,
The other complication is just general two-thumb coordination, I'd say. The ability to sort of move one thumb completely independently of the other one, which is something... we find quite easily. Dual stick shooters such as Geometry Wars are, as soon as they came out, it was second nature. We didn't have to think about learning the technique. It was just there.
Yeah.
Because we got so used to FPSs and things like that. I'm actually using Katamari Damacy as a sort of training aid for that. Introduced her to it yesterday. She didn't take to that too badly, actually.
Yeah, that's not so bad, I guess. I mean, if you think about it, two thumbs is all you really use. Well, I guess you use the triggers, but two thumbs is the main control on a console.
It's the main skill, isn't it?
And if you think of controlling any other thing in any other machine in life, with a PC, you're clicking things with your index fingers and using the keyboard with your fingers. Any kind of control. The thumbs is quite
don't
rare.
Get much of a look in.
Yeah. When you're driving a car, you don't need to use your thumbs, do you? Do you?
To grip the wheel? No, you just use them to stay with your hand on the wheel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's in itself is unusual.
I suppose you're right, actually. Yeah.
I guess you use it for clicking a TV remote.
Either that or you're extreme texter.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, texting or mobile phone use in general. I guess that's the example, is it?
Well, it's
TV
sort of been replaced with the
phones.
iPhones. With the iPhone, it's sort of going back to the index finger, isn't it, to a degree?
That's true.
Except for typing.
What is it that that jab pad? That's what Charlie Brooker is calling the iPad. No, not pad. Jab something. I can't remember what it was, but that's his name.
Jab slab.
Because you do jab slab. Because you do just jab at it with your. It looks like you're jabbing at the index finger. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, but getting non-gamers into gaming is you have to tread that road carefully and not push them into anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. But as I say, it was just watching. It was going back to the point. Flower was quite infuriating, not because the controls are so difficult, but she conceptually had difficult with the concept of up and down and aim and basically the whole control scheme. Let's put it that way. The controls are good, but I guess that's
yet another sort of one of those things that you don't really think about when we do it, but is actually quite a difficult concept. Is the whole sort of invert Y or not invert Y? It's like they're equally sort of confusing.
In motion control, it makes sense though. You tip the front of the controller down and the back of the controller up, so you tilt it towards you to go up generally.
Yeah,
which makes sense because you're lifting your nose essentially. You're lifting. If you lean back, therefore you're looking up, therefore you travel in the direction you're looking. That makes sense to me. And you can't really do it the other way around in motion controls. It doesn't work.
No, you can't.
I can understand why people have that confusion with on a stick. Because look up, push up to look up sort of makes sense. Although I have the inversion thing. I think of it like I'm pulling myself back rather than pulling the world back.
Me too, yeah.
It's
most people have the normal. I think we're quite unusual, Rob, actually.
Really?
Being inverted.
Invert's unusual?
Yeah, very, I think.
Nowadays, probably.
Yeah, I think, maybe especially nowadays. Yeah, but nowadays I'm pretty sure it's... I'm not sure I know anyone else apart from you. Because you're not inverted, are you, Zach?
No,
you flip over. Every time you play Hostile Waters, you flip over, don't you? Or something.
No, it was because I used to be invert back in like Quake 2 or whatever.
Yeah, you couldn't be asked to keep changing the option.
Well, that was probably one reason. But
actually, Dan, you used to play normal as well, didn't you? Back in the Quake 1 days. I seem to remember me having to switch it whenever we swapped players.
I'm pretty sure I always played inverted. I'm not sure. One thing I changed is...
And then again, I used to be an advocate of keyboard control.
I've changed around my sticks on the console controls. I used to look with the left thing because it made more sense to me because that felt more like... Yeah, because that felt more like the main stick, the left stick, and I thought, well, the mouse is the main... Do you see what I mean? So for me, that made sense. But then I ended up, there was a game where I had to do it the other way, and now that's switched me over. Anyway, carry on.
I've always thought the normal way around makes sense, because you like left-hand keyboard, right-hand mouse, and right-hand...
Yeah, that's another logic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever logic works for you, basically. Yeah.
But I don't remember what... it's one of those things where it's like, I can't remember how I first learned how to do it all. Like, what game would have been the first one where I was learning how to do mouse look or whatever. I distinctly remember... Oh no, I guess that was after Quake 2 even, but... I distinctly remember teaching other people how to use mouse look when they were using the keyboard only. It's like, no, you fools, use the mouse.
Well, a mouse look wasn't default on Quake. Well, WASD wasn't default. It was definitely cursors, I think, and you had to change it. And PC Gamer told me to change it. In almost the first issue of where they were talking about Quake Deathmatch, which was before Quake even came out, there was like a beta which was distributed on floppy, I think, or you had to download it with a 14K modem or something. I don't know. And they were like, okay, WASD and spacebar, this is the way to do it. You have to type /bind / W. And that was my first time using WASD, and that was just the industry standard from that point on. It wasn't even in the game, but the fact that it was obviously the way to do it. I don't know.
Yeah. But then it was like, so obviously, I mean, I was inverted for ages, but then when it came to Freelancer was the game that switched it.
Oh yeah.
In Freelancer, you point the cursor towards the enemies, but that also causes your ship to turn. So you're moving the cursor around the screen, and if you're moving the cursor up the screen, your ship goes upwards. Yeah. So that actually inverted me, because you're pushing upwards to go upwards, and then recentering it. So it's like, that's how I came back to the normal non-inverted way.
Yeah, I had that problem around that time as well, very slightly, because Freelancer kind of fucked you up because of that. But then the way to get around it is to focus on the fact that you're moving the cursor, not the ship. If you convince your... I was about to say, if you convince your brain that you're just moving the cursor and not the ship, then it's not so bad.
I think it was because I played Freelancer for 20 hours straight over 2 days or something. So it's like I played it so much it kind of just became natural from then on.
Because you actually played it almost like an MMO before MMOs, didn't you? Because you actually did what you could do is like trading, like which nobody did, I don't think, in Freelancer. But
I didn't do it that much.
You did a bit though of like going out to an asteroid, and didn't you trade or you had to change your standing with the bad guys in order to get the best equipment?
Oh, but that was sort of. That wasn't like first time through or anything. That was like after
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Do it again, where you're like play it through again and deliberately grind up faction standings for the bad guys so you can get their awesome ships or whatever.
Yeah. I always stuck with the ship that you get at the end because it's like it costs nothing, doesn't it? And it's worth nothing. So if you sell it, it doesn't to anyone. It costs like 50p, and yet it's like super awesome. It's really weird.
Not the best.
No, it's not quite the best.
Although strangely, the best ships was like the civilian fighter ship. It wasn't any of the racial ships, and it wasn't any of the militarized racial ships. It was just the civilian, like the civilian fighter you get at the start. It was just like the end of that tech tree, the best civilian fighter.
Oh, cool.
It's like the best ship. But that was really difficult to get because you had to get like super neutral standings, so you could buy it from. Wait, did you buy that from? Because you had to do some weird neutral standing thing to be able to buy from the what they called the free stations or whatever.
Oh, I know, like the one that gets blown up at the start.
Yeah,
of the
one that you're on.
Yeah,
free station or
3.
You had to do some weird, incredible neutral where you had to grind your standings, but to get them to neutral out.
Yeah. So you had to keep balancing and keep looking to see which one you need to work for next and fly over there and do it.
Yeah.
What a pain.
That was very weird.
Anyway, modern games.
Woo! Anyway, Flower. Yes. Back to what we were doing again. Yeah, again, quite cool. But I'd wager that £8 is too expensive for it. I mean, £8 doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 800 points for a game that is essentially 6 levels, and you get one of them in the demo.
I think we know where we stand with that game.
You play it for the visuals and the relaxation rather than except for when I'm watching it. Okay, yeah. What else have I been playing? One more demo, I think, on my list.
Okie dokie.
On my imaginary list, being drawn from memory. Which I played today, which was Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game.
Oh, I hear it's good. I can't wait for the film.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't wait for the film. That's going to be totally crazy fucking
Edgar Wright is amazing. And it's going to be like Hot Fuzz turned up to the max on, his crazy editing that he's done since
with
Space.
Extra kapow and WUD.
Yeah, exactly, because he's now the comic book elements to add to that. So it's going to be like every single thing is going to have a swoosh noise. Every camera pan is going to go whoo! Like, it's going to be great. And I quite like Michael Cera as well, so I think he's all right.
He actually comes across as a bit of a weird choice, but I think, because judging by the game, which is supposedly more based on the comic book aesthetic.
Right,
he's a bit more of a cocky badass.
Okay, cool.
But, as the front man of a band, he probably is in the film. But, Michael Cera doesn't have that image of being a bit cocky or any particular badass at all.
Because you think of him playing his Arrested Development character in every film, whereas he won't necessarily. I mean, he might be more of a badass in this one, yeah.
But anyway, game is basically Streets of Rage, done in...
Okay.
The entire game graphics are done in super pixelated form. So it looks super old school, but well animated and stuff. And with quite a lot of detail going on in the world at the same time. But, everything's pixelated, which is cool. The music's all chip. The sound effects are all old school. It properly replicates old school gaming, but with a modern feel, which is quite nice.
Right.
Modernized feel. It's still the old stuff, but it feels sharp enough to be new.
Cool.
And it has a Castle Crashers style leveling system, so you gain more powers as you progress through the game, which is neat.
I guess that would be a comparison point, wouldn't it? Castle Crashers.
Yeah.
No.
It's cool, basically. It's hard to say anything more than that, because it is just a beat 'em up, a scrolling beat 'em up like Golden Axe, like Streets. it is one of those games, but presumably it gets better the more you play it, and obviously you only get the... Again, I'd imagine it's quite short, because of the 7 Evil X's things, there's 7 main levels in the game.
Yeah.
Which are quite long. You get one of them in the demo, and it's quite long. I'll give it that.
Cool.
It took me a freaking age, and I got to the end of it and died. And then it puts you right back at the start of the level. There's no mid-level checkpoints. So if you lose all your lives, arcade style, you have to go back to the start.
Truly retro. Oh, cool.
Yeah, which is cool, and it's designed for co-op mainly. So playing it on my own probably isn't the best way to go through it.
Well, how many? Does it go up to 4? Like
up to 4, yep.
Whoa, sweet.
Which is neat, and there are special co-op attacks and stuff. For instance, if you all taunt the enemy at the same time, you get like a band attack.
Oh, cool.
I don't know. It's kind of cool. It'll be one of those things I'd like to sort of run Zach by, basically, to see if he'll join in, and that might be worth a purchase, actually.
Yeah, because
again, it falls in at the £8 barrier, which for this doesn't seem unreasonable.
No, that seems reasonable. Yeah, and so is it comparable to Castle Crashers? Because the way you're describing it, like 4 pounds.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Okay.
Other than the weapon system, which you don't get, and the animal system, it's weirdly it's a bit simpler than Castle Crashers, but there's it overflows with style more than substance. But it actually does it well.
Does it have that sort of Castle Crashers where it sort of has depth and you have to kind of line up with the enemies, which is sometimes doesn't work very well?
It does it old school style, so yeah, it does.
Right, but does that work better than because in Castle Crashers?
Well, everything's a lot bigger. Let me put it this way: you don't get the camera zoom effect like you get in Castle Crashers because they're going for the retro style, but every character on screen is much bigger. It is
right, cool.
At the same sort of scale of streets and stuff. So the character takes up most of the screen.
Cool.
And yeah, it's good. But I can imagine it's one of those things because the combat system seems a bit deeper because it has combo moves and stuff, and you unlock a new move every level by the looks of it, rather than just periodically like in Castle Crashers where it's like every so many levels you might get an extra thing that you don't use. This actually seems to... Because at first you literally only get jumping attacks and the choice between light and heavy attack. You don't get anything else. Like you don't even get the run up and like a dash attack or whatever. You have to unlock that. But you do get things like the ability to double tap down to do a quick jump into the foreground or a quick jump into the background and stuff. So there is a certain depth to the combat.
Right.
And there's a lot of timing and stuff involved, like make sure you block when this enemy's about to do, or don't stand near this enemy when he gets up because he'll kick you for massive damage, or stuff like that. There are ways to treat most enemies, and it's I don't know, it's cool. And there are shops, so you have to buy like snacks and stuff, which regain your health and stuff if you want to. Everyone drops money basically, and you can spend it on like if you're holding a snack when you die, you get some health back from the snack. See, yeah. Or you can use it to buy other foods, which just level you up. Do your stats immediately, and some of them will actually give you permanent stat boosts. In fact, most of them will, like defense up or
cool.
willpower up and things like that. So but you don't get told what they do. You have to remember. You have to buy them and see.
How sort of punchy and sort of violent is the punching and kicking? But I mean, the combat, does it feel like visceral?
It's got the same sort of level of impact as Golden Axe does, if you know what I mean.
Right, yeah.
Sort of a bit more punchy, but that kind of with old school sound effects, it's a little bit soft, if you know what I mean. But it's less soft than Castle Crashers because Castle Crashers just feels like butter. You don't really get like a hit at all. But this definitely goes like a you do get that sort of feeling you'll hit something. I can't remember. There might be vibration feedback as well with every hit. So
cool.
Can't
Sounds
remember
really
that.
Good.
But I'm quite impressed. Definitely highlight of my day in terms of gaming. And actually probably the highlight the demo run other than Limbo.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well that ends the demo section, I guess.
Yeah, and the problem is I've still got stuff to talk about. I don't know if we want to move to Zach and let me come back to it later. But...
Okay, let's have a bit of Zach.
No, let's not, because we'll never come back.
Okay.
We'll run out of time or something.
Well, okay,
I'll commit to one person and then...
I'll make this fairly short then, because it's not much to say really, other than a brief TF2 session and Red Faction. The other game I've been playing was the one you suggested because it was free.
Oh, Yes, of course. Okay. What do you think?
Oh, holy fuck. Actually, no, there's something else I need to talk about as well, but I'll come back to that. It's even more unexpected and awesome-ish than you'll imagine.
Okay, go ahead.
Right, the first bit is like Civilization Revolution.
Revolution.
on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Which Zach's seen, and as well, so he can comment on this.
Okay.
And I don't know if you picked it up and have played it yet, Dan. Cause
I had a quick go. I haven't played a whole game or anything, but
no, I haven't played for an entire session yet. But it's I think the closest representation of what we're thinking is it's basically Civ 2.
Yeah, it's quite
because you lose the complexity of Civ 3 and obviously new Civ 4, but it cuts it back to what made Civilization sort of big in the first place. And it's still crazy addictive, and you still keep playing it. And I have sat there and done like 2 hours in one session on it.
Yeah, one more turn, that's the thing.
Yeah, and not really realise, the one more turn system really does apply. Although, my only real complaint with it is it's a bit of a shoddy development on... You know, the interface isn't bad, but the graphics are pretty awful.
Right,
and they don't scale very well. And the road graphic in particular is pretty ridiculous because it doesn't actually properly join up. There are bits like a road just jutting out everywhere.
Yeah, I have to admit, it didn't feel as polished as Civilization ought to be these days.
No, it doesn't. And obviously it's not iPhone 4 geared up, so it looks a bit weird and a bit pants on mine anyway. But it doesn't run particularly quick. Yeah, but it's free and I can't complain. And it's kept me busy, which is the other thing. I have actually played it and enjoyed it. So
excellent.
It's just presentation needs work. Okay. Oh, and the fact that the bloody science screen, whenever you say anything on that screen, the scientist has to play some sort of sound effect.
Oh, the sound effects are really annoying.
And like with a ridiculous computer sound in the background.
I mean, if you're going to do retarded stuff like that, bring it back to Civilization 2's hilarious full motion video advisor.
Yeah, damn right.
We're number one in science. And the way that they changed their clothes about 3 times through the different ages. So there was like an early one and like a middle ages one where, well, the early one was like the military guy was in like a Roman centurion outfit, and then by the end he was like a modern general and stuff with a 5-star helmet or whatever.
Yeah, that was pretty
hilarious. Cool. But so
the sound's quite annoying. Apart from the fights, which although the animation style is weird and the music, the sudden influx of music is cool. So it suddenly goes dom da dom dom da dom dom, and everyone suddenly starts battling it out. But the best bit is obviously when your guys win and they just stand there literally going woo, which is great. It's like, yay! Woo! Which loses its awesome as the game goes on, because the music gets a bit more guitar-y in the fights later on in the game. But obviously tanks can't go woo. So,
so they just sort of stand there.
They just sort of sit there, yeah.
It should have like the tops pop open and then these guys
go.
That'd be cool. I have to say, one thing I saw about in the news about... Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say something about Civ 5, but...
okay. Yeah, I'll stick with it again. One thing I will say, fucking English longbowmen. I like during the early stages of the game, well, it was like medievals. It was just about the beginning of the medieval stage or whatever, so I'm supposed to have knights and things, and I just about got them. You know, you've just about got cavalry and knights and stuff, and they just come about. I found a temple which apparently contained an ancient tank. So I thought,
Leonardo's tank.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. No, it was a proper tank. Like, just found it in this city, and it's like, all right, holy shit! I'm just gonna walk over these bastard English, and it got taken out by longbowmen. It's like, for sake.
Lol.
It's a bit ridiculous. English longbowmen, totally evil.
They are hardcore. They're a good bonus in many games, not just in Civilization. Also in Age of Empires, they were pretty good, weren't they? In the English longbowmen, I seem to remember.
And the other thing, remember, is just the English sound effect for whenever the Queen speaks or whatever. It goes skiddly poop, clap tang, ding dong.
Oh, so English.
Clap tang, ding dong. Totally cool. Yeah, so your Civ 5 quote, go.
Oh, I was going to say is, I was saying the combat should be more like Advance Wars. Well, one step towards it. In Civ 5, it's 1 unit per square.
Yeah, we mentioned that before. Yeah, no stacking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, did we said that? Oh, never mind. The other thing about Civ 5 is, Zach, you won't like this news, but it does seem like they're doing that thing where they're taking features out and then they'll put them back in, probably with expansion packs.
Boo!
So it's going to be shit like espionage and stuff from Civ 4 that won't be in it, because it seems like they're trying to make the core game just, completely overhaul the core game, and then they'll add the extra stuff later. It seems that way.
And it's the EA marketing strategy all over again.
Possibly. I don't know.
Boom!
I think it might be justified. We'll just see how good it is anyway. Civ 5. I think it could be cool. Anyway, so that's that.
The trouble I've seen with the Civ 5, so far, the little preview bits of video, whatever. I don't think I've ever seen a single map that actually looks good. Not visually, but it's all these 1 square wide island corridors. It's that's not a Civ map. That's some stupid. It's if you can only put 1 unit per square, that's just the ultimate choke point, surely.
Yeah, I reckon they're probably...
I want some more open plains, please, or something.
You could probably generate it however you like. They're probably just making them look.
That was
nice
the problem I had in Civ 4 as well, where it was I could never get a map generated the way that actually I thought was actually a good map, no matter what all these different weird generation options they have.
Cooper scoop.
I'm going to just segue into a little bit of what I've been playing before, Zach, because I've been playing an iPhone game, just quickly, because that's the only thing I've really got access to.
Oh, don't forget my awesomeness. There's the surprise news I haven't mentioned yet.
Oh, okay. But I just thought I'd mention that I've been playing some more Plants vs. Zombies, which I talked about before.
Right, yeah.
But that game is actually quite long. It's not a casual game quite like Peggle is. It kind of suckers you into thinking it is, but you can't play it while waiting for a bus because it requires too much concentration.
Hang on a sec. Dan, is that you getting... Zach, is Dan getting quiet for you, or have I just sat on something?
Am I getting quiet?
No, I don't know. He sounds about normal.
Okay,
I think I just sat on something. Carry on.
Okay, well, yeah, because the resources which is the sunlight, just sort of appears on the screen on the iPhone, and you have to tap it to collect it. So not only are you planting, you're also doing the job of collecting the resources. So you have to be, and also when you kill the zombies, they sometimes drop money, which you need to buy upgrades and stuff. So you have to tap on the money before it disappears as well to collect it. So you're constantly tapping, and you need to concentrate basically to play Plants vs. Zombies. It's not like Peggle where it's turn-based and you can stop and think about it and look up and watch TV at the same time, because you just couldn't do that with Plants vs. Zombies. So, but it is really good because they keep introducing. There's so many plants. If you start playing it and you look at all the empty slots of plants that are going to be filled by the end of different plants are the different kinds of unit. So almost every level you get access to a new kind of unit or a new item or something constantly throughout the game. So you're always gaining stuff. And what often happens is there'll be a zombie class, a new zombie class that can only be counted by the new items that you've got. So, but I have a bit of a criticism there because it's those new items they're not really adding to your palette really, because you can only choose a certain amount to use per level. And some of them are only useful for solving specific problems that you'll only encounter on certain levels. So they're not really adding to your pool of, they don't really interact.
Useful
they're more they're more like you use these for these bits. And then later on, I've just got to the last, the first bit is during the daytime you got the normal plants, and then nighttime you use mushrooms because they only grow at night or something. Or whatever, and at night time you don't get as many resources because the sun isn't shining, so you have to do it anyway. And then there's the next set, you get a strip of water down the middle, like a pond, and so you need to plant water lilies on so that you can plant plants on the water, and there are water plants. And then there's water levels at night, and now I finally got to the roof, which is gabled or whatever, so it's got an incline, so you need to use plants that lob in a ballistic trajectory their projectiles rather than shooting straight. So there's a new class of plants that I've access to which lob cabbages and the zombies as they come. But as I say, like it's like, oh, I've got to this level, now I need to use the cabbages because I can't use the old plants. So some of the plants you use all the time, but some of them are very specific and they don't really interact in a way that's interesting. So I think that's a bit of a criticism. But it is very fun.
Do you get warned about what you might need or not? Or is it like a trial and error thing? So you'll do the level, you'll see some stuff coming and go, oh fuck, I need that specific item.
Well, basically, I mean, if there's a big thing like the fact, like for example, the roof, and you have to lob, right? Then you'll get given the cabbage before that, obviously, and the bloke will give you some advice saying, "Oh, it's nighttime now," or "Oh, you need to lob." So you do get warned sometimes, but when a new zombie type is introduced, there's a help section which you get later on. You don't start at the start of the game. You don't have a help section, so you can't look up what the different things do, which is quite annoying. But you do get it after a while, and that help section tells you what all the zombies' strengths and weaknesses are. But the first time you meet a new kind of zombie, there's no entry, so you have to at least play that level once to know what works against that zombie. No, but usually it will be the plant that you've just got the level before, and you'll be like, you'll want to try it out anyway because you want to try your new toy, but almost certainly you're going to need that new toy, right? So you generally use whatever it is, but sometimes it can surprise you. Like a zombie can be really strong out of nowhere and you weren't really expecting it, or it can be a vehicle or something and you don't know how to deal with it. Like the Zomboni, which is like those, what are they actually called? Zambonis, or those things on ice skating rinks that polish the ice to make it an even surface. Anyway, so yeah, but yeah, long as well. Good game and long, and I recommend. So yes, more Plants vs Zombies. So
do you have to play it in one sitting, or can you save progress and stuff?
Oh no, it saves progress. So and the levels are only like 2 minutes max, I'd say. Some of them are longer than others, but and there are like quick fire ones where instead of planting what you choose using your resources, you just get a conveyor belt and it just gives you plants and you just have to plant when you get them. So that's there's like quick fire rounds to mix it up as well, which is quite cool. Yeah,
awesome.
So yeah,
so you recommend? Because I did look at it and say, because it is considered on the best iPhone games as one of the top ones.
Yes.
Most people will say that it's PopCap's best, actually.
Well,
Peggle aside, it's usually a toss-up between that and Plants vs. Zombies.
Yeah, well, I think Peggle is as a game on a mobile phone is perfect because you can just stop any time. I think that's wonderful, whereas this game requires, commitment to at least play for 2 minutes or you'll probably get into it and end up playing for 10 minutes or something. And that's more like something that's, I mean, obviously it's great on an iPhone, but it'll work just as well on a Game Boy or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like almost not less suited to the extreme throwaway gaming that on mobiles. Do you know what I mean? Like all other iPhone games. Yeah, so it's more like any other iPhone game, like Civ Revolution or something, where you play for a while. Yeah, so in that respect, but it's probably just as good a game, I'd say. It's very, very well polished. It's a really nice game. PopCap, really good high production standards on that. So yeah. Yeah,
PopCap have kind of come into their own with the last few releases. It's like I looked on Steam today at the PopCap collection and was like, ooh, okay, what else have they done? Apparently there's 30 titles on here.
30? Jeez.
And only 2 of them are Peggle, 2 of them are Bookworm, which is kind of cool. I quite like Bookworm.
Yeah, that's good.
One of them is Plants vs. Zombies, and the other one is Astropop, which I sort of know because it was on Xplar.
Okay.
The rest of them are Bejeweled, basically, and all kinds of other fucked up things you will never have heard of.
Yeah.
And it's like, bloody hell. It's like, PopCap, you've seriously just come into the limelight with a few games, and you've made a lot of shit in the meantime.
Yeah, I think everything they produce from now on will be, I think it will get exponentially better. Well, not, but I think ever since Peggle is what did it for them, really, and I think Plants vs. Zombies is their first post-Peggle game where they've actually...
Well, you could argue that Bejeweled did it for them, really. That kind of made them a big name.
Yeah, or maybe Bejeweled, yeah. But they've obviously got quite a big staff now, and they can concentrate on the quality, so it's nice.
Yeah, the Peggle credits aren't small, so... Well, they're reasonably small, but, for such a simple game, there's quite a few of them working on it.
Yeah. So what's your last thing, then?
Actually, I've just remembered something else.
Go ahead.
Before I get to the surprise, I will very quickly say, for the love of God, if you own Splosion Man, finish it. It's brilliant. I won't mention it. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
But it's so unbelievably unexpected and awesome. It's just... Yeah, I'll show Zach over the weekend and see whether or not I'm allowed to talk about it next time, because it's just plain super.
Okay.
But the other thing I saw was I was browsing the indie game section on Xplar, and I saw a curious title at the end of the current list for the new releases list called Spin, and I thought, to myself, no way. It can't be.
Way.
And then the image loaded, and fuck yeah, it had a picture of what looked like the ship from Spin, like the sort of yellowy sort of thing. And I thought,
oh my god!
And I still thought to myself,
fins on it.
And I thought, yeah, I sort of looked at it and still thought to myself, no fucking way.
No
so
way.
I downloaded it and played it, and sure enough, it is someone's attempt at remaking Spin.
Oh, is it?
The ages-old shareware game of PC classicness.
Of PC Magic that we used to play.
Unfortunately, it's
XNA
shit.
Or something.
But, yeah. The unfortunate thing is that it's shit. Sorry, man, but you haven't captured the essence of Spin at all. It's like, it has a lot of similarities. Yeah, it doesn't have that sound effect, annoyingly. You can run into stuff. Like, you can you can't fly over freighters now and have them go, ahoy there. You bump into them and stuff. It doesn't have any of the cool sound effects, like the guns that were super pew, 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 super, like, really loud and stuff. So when you got into a fight, you fucking knew you were in a fight.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any of that. The music is terrible.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
seriously. If you're going to try and make music for a game, I'm pretty sure Zach could have done a bad job.
I doubt it.
No, you haven't heard it. I'll show you that as well, but it's quite atrocious.
But
You've heard my attempt at making a Fast Tracker song. It didn't go very well.
Fast Tracker's not exactly how you imagine music to be, is it? But
well, it's not like it's like you put notes on a time scale.
Well, yeah, but, it's just practice. But yeah, no, it's just not right, basically. It's split into levels as well, rather than one continuous game that has, like, pirate phases. And
I don't know.
They've still got the radars and stuff, but...
That's quite funny that they've done that.
I'll try and get
still avoid losing freighters by just morphing away as fast as you can until it goes off the end of the map?
No, the mat rats.
Boo. That was the best plan. It's like, if you knew you couldn't get there in time to save the frame, you just morph in the opposite direction until it goes off the edge, and it doesn't matter.
Classic. Yeah, it doesn't have that music.
Oh, anyway. So, yeah, is that the end of your been playing?
Yeah, I think I've taken out pretty much all of this podcast, but...
Awesome. Should we get on to a bit of Zach before the end?
Informative.
How long do we actually have?
We are currently at 1 hour 47.
Oh, Jesus.
Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I will. Well, luckily there isn't too much to talk about. I mean, we already talked about Red Faction, so that's nicely covered.
That one's down. Go ahead.
I finished that game of Civ 4 that I started playing last time.
Okay.
Did I mention that in the podcast? Because I guess I didn't, because you talked about Civ 4, and then I started the game. Because it was like, oh no, now I have the urge to play Civ 4 again.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to do a more warring kind of...
I think you did talk about it last time, actually.
Yeah, we did mention I'd started that.
We did.
Yeah, because I was the time before I was talking about it, yeah.
That's how I knew about the lack of stacking, because you went on to talk about your hopes for Civ 5.
Yes. Well, that. So I finished that game by actually winning a domination victory. It's like, holy fuck! Because it's like, you have to have like 50-something% of the world's population and 64% of the map area. And it's like, actually won my domination. Holy shit.
So you succeeded in being very warring. Being warring and taking everyone over, did you then? It worked.
Well, I wouldn't have said it was easier. It was like, I did have some convenient, luckiness where it's like my very nearest neighbour was like a totally non-combatant race, so he was easy to wipe out, so he got all his landscape to
that really helps.
up off, or whatever. And I think I discovered why. Oh yeah, I do remember talking about this because I think I discovered why those English guys with their miniature civilization had so much tech advancement.
Oh yeah, what was it?
It was because their capital city was on the coastline, so it had like 5 squares of water. But every one of those 5 water squares was a food resource. So it just got huge. So every one of their specialists was just like 1 million scientists. And every time they got like a great scientist, they just added him into that city as a super specialist. Okay. So it just had an insane science output.
Awesome.
So I think that was how they teched ahead with such a small civilization. But then I killed them.
You killed them before they managed to launch a spaceship, and you're fine.
Yeah, it was only like 1918 or something. Probably not actually 1918. That would be a bit too much of a coincidence.
You'd actually need quite a few cities to actually build the spaceship, though, wouldn't you? Because you need to build all the parts, and it's not just like a tech victory. You also need it's a sort of tech and production victory, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but yeah. So it's like I came up through that. It was kind of convenient that as I was killing the second to last guys on that continent before I got to the English, something went weird in the English's sort of plan because they'd already teched up ahead of me or whatever. But as I was destroying the second to last guys, they were just building 1 million ships, and it was like, what the fuck are you doing? So as soon as I started moving into the English's territory, there was just like their entire coastline was just surrounded by boats.
Okay.
And it was like, conveniently, of course, I don't have to worry about that because it was a ground war. But also, luckily, probably about the turn I started the war, I teched up past them on ships. So it's like I had better ships. It was like, now I can kill you all.
Did you just mop them up after you'd taken over all their territory? Just using your battleship or whatever you had
get my destroyers and bonus ranks by killing a lot of units. It was kind of nice. But it was really funny because it's like, I finally wiped out all the English, well, I didn't wipe them out because they had like a stealth oversea colony or something that I hadn't noticed. It's like,
Do you have an incredibly squeaky chair, by the way? Because it's sort of going ba-dong, ba-dong, dong, ba-dong.
No, it's fireworks.
Oh, what?
I have no idea why there's fireworks outside, but it's
in August.
It's like last week where we had dogs and helicopters. Now we've got fireworks.
Dogs flying helicopters.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was quite a funny bit towards the end of that game where it's like I wiped out the last of the English on the continent, so I owned the whole continent. But then as I was coming up to it, it was like, oh, I'm at like 55% of the land area. So I took the last cities, and then of course when they're in their like anarchy state after you capture them, they don't have their like whole area.
Right.
They don't have their whole area around them. They only exist in one square, so I didn't own that little bit of extra land. It was like, it's like I'm waiting extra turns for them to stop anarchying, so they reclaim the land area around them. Right. And then when the last city finally unanarchies and I've claimed the entire continent, it was like, what's the land area I'm owning? 63.92. Fuck. It's like I'm so precisely 0.08% short
of winning the domination.
But luckily there was a convenient one-tile island that no one had built anything on, so I was just like, quick, build a settler and put it in a transport.
Awesome! It's like you raced over there and started a settlement on a
one square island, yeah,
one square point
to win the game.
Awesome!
It was a casual ending.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool story.
Yo, dog.
Good Civ. And I think I was playing on Warlord, so that was like not quite the easiest difficulty. Woohoo!
Ooh, nice one. What else have you been playing?
Oh, well, I guess the only other thing I could think of, I mean, apart from general Team Fortressing and that kind of stuff, I also play quite a lot of Minecraft.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was just like, I'd played it before it became slightly more famous through that TF2 thing where they posted on the blog about the weird Minecraft level in Team Fortress.
Oh, yeah.
But I had played it before, but then when they mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, Minecraft, I should see how that's doing. And, well, there's not much to say about it because it's just, it's not really much of a game. It's just like you run around the landscape and dig up stuff and then craft it into things and build buildings. It's a sandbox. It's not a game as such, I guess. It's sort of in the same vein as Dwarf Fortress, only probably even less you probably have even less goals in Minecraft than Dwarf Fortress. It's just like, don't die, and you probably want to build a house or a base of some kind, so you have somewhere to put all your crap.
It has slightly more graphics than Dwarf Fortress, I imagine.
Well, I guess it's like arguably like
it has graphics.
It's like Dwarf Fortress is like it's displaying a lot of area, so you're seeing a lot of stuff at once. But obviously, it's not. It's symbolic, so it's like you're not really seeing it. You're like inferring what it is from the symbols. Whereas in Minecraft, it's like it's hella low res, but it is 3D, and like individual blocks are of a specific type, and you can see that.
Everything's specifically square, isn't it? Everything is cubes.
Yeah, made up of weird cubular shapes. Enemies made of cubes, and I guess not everything is technically cubes. You pick up things which are flat polygons, items.
Yeah, but they're made of like pixels.
Yeah, they're pixelated, so it's okay. It all fits. But it's a funny game. Just like build weird towers or whatever.
Bit fucking random.
Yeah, it really is. It really is
not in the good sense. It's not like random shit happens that much. It's just a really random concept, and as Zach says, not much of a game. I don't see the fun value particularly. It's intriguing, but
it's because you don't have the correct you don't have that weird urge to randomly make shit. It's like you want a game with a purpose. You want to have a goal.
I am a bit goal orientated when it comes to gaming.
Whereas
it's like Little Big Planet,
spend hours digging random crap out of the ground.
It's like Little Big Planet. I don't mind playing the levels, but making the levels I'm not so good at. I had a thought, right? Thinking about Little Big Planet, actually.
Yeah.
Like, if they were so big on their creation tools, do you reckon they could go down the route of the Incredible Machine or something and have builder puzzles where you need to build a sort of level in order to achieve a certain...
You're needing to input actual items rather
than
just stickers or whatever they tried.
Or a bit like the Trackmania puzzle system where you have to build a route with a limited number of pieces or something.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool then, if it gave you a random selection of physics-based objects in Little Big Planet and you had to use them to make a really unstable series of platforms or something to jump across.
Yeah, it seems like the perfect scenario in which to sort of make one of those games. Maybe you can using the new and improved creation tools, but maybe someone could make a game like that. But
in the game, yeah.
But I hope you're listening, Media Molecule. I want to see one of those again. They were cool.
That would be cool. Okay.
Was there something fairly recently that attempted to redo the Incredible Machine?
Well, there was that crayon physics thing where you could draw the objects, where it's you physically drew shapes and then they became physics objects, and you had to stack them up and join them or whatever. That was sort of in the same vein, I guess.
Yeah, because those were always cool. The Incredible Machine just sort of stands out as one of the best ever made, but
it was mainly the best. It was mainly awesome because you could do really stupid shit, where it's you could combine things in really ridiculous ways and ways that were sort of buggy and things that weren't meant to quite work like that. Where you could all the really ridiculous things where it's propel a mouse across the level using a series of fans and trampolines to chuck it precisely into a hole or something.
That's genius. That'd be so good. That. Imagine that in 3D with modern physics. That'd be impossible and hilarious.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
You can make a game like that in 3D. That's the problem.
Yeah, it'd be really bloody hard.
You can make 3D graphics, of course, but it would still have to act in a 2D plane.
You see, this is why I'm thinking Little Big Planet. Damn it!
Yeah,
it has half the framework there. It has a good physics model. It has the 2D plane.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be an option, at least to create that game if it isn't built in.
Yeah, LBP3 somehow.
Cool.
That'd be cool. That's made me think about Trackmania actually. Maybe that's worth a purchase. I'm sure there was something recently released on, not recently, but not that long ago. That's basically the Incredible Machine.
They have made
modernized graphics,
basic remake type things, but they're never going to be as good as the original. The original had so many freaking puzzles and everything. where you had to find the weird,
sequel.
incredibly precise ways to do it. Yeah, incredibly precise ways to like pull off these ridiculous maneuvers. Where it's like, it's like the most difficult ones is where it like gave you objects and you had to use them for a purpose that wasn't what they were for. Like you had to use the bottom leg of a trampoline to hit a ball sideways as it bounced up into it or whatever.
Yeah, those are the weird ones. I always seem to remember one where there was a little bloke, wasn't there? Was he Mel or something?
Oh yeah, Mel.
Wasn't there a level once where you had to propel him about the level by positioning so he precisely landed on the top of crocodiles' mouths. So when they opened, they bounced him around. So you had to do it in such a way that he never landed in their mouth, but bounced around so he reached the goal.
Yeah, that was ingenious. And another game of that similar vein of ridiculous. I don't know why it's not really relevant, but it's like I just thought of another game in that same vein was the classic of Chips Challenge, where it's like so many levels, you can be here forever trying to work out these goddamn weird puzzles.
Chips Challenge was fucking huge. And Kai, do you remember Kai?
Vaguely, not as much as Chips.
Well, no one can forget Chips. You know, they're tasty.
Daddy,
Kai was the
or
one
Chips
you really
Challenge,
liked, though, wasn't it? That because Kai was the one where you're literally just a ball, and whenever you it was like a grid-based puzzler where stuff moved in the world, but you had to find the path through it to avoid everything. And whenever you moved a square, everything else moved a square, or everything moved in turns.
Yeah, I think I do sort of remember that.
Because I think you managed to finish it, and I didn't get very far because I thought it was fucking difficult. But
that is the classic. It's like those old school games that had shit tons of levels were always awesome. Like Elastomania as well. That had so many levels, and it was so goddamn difficult.
Elastomania, basically, the Elastomania is which should have seen a resurgence in popularity after Trials, because basically Trials is Elastomania without the Elasto bit.
Yeah, without the weird wheels not actually physically attached to the bike, so you can kind of hang off them by the suspension through the landscape.
Yeah, totally doesn't work in real life, but what the hell, it was awesome. And the balance system wasn't just lean forward, lean back. No, it was shove yourself forward.
It was like digital lurches. Digital flicks forwards and backwards.
Yeah, well, it's a
so you
bit
can
realistic,
analogically, dodgily. Well, I don't know. It's, I mean, it's more realistic for sort of air control, but it's less realistic for like riding a bike. It's leaning forwards and backwards to keep your balance makes sense.
I suppose you do have to lurch though to get any momentum, don't you? I don't know.
Well, yeah, for those kind of bigger movements and air control, that made sort of sense in Elastomania. It was a funny
awesome game. Yeah. DOS-tastic.
Yes, all those old school DOS games that were totally awesome at the time.
I still can't believe Spin was there.
I could probably name a few more.
Piranha?
But, we could probably not. Well, Piranha was a bit more modern. At least in visually.
That was just stuff we got off my PC Gamer cover discs. That was
well, that's
pretty
true.
much.
Before the internet, that's where it was
popular,
that.
Yeah.
It was Fuzzy's World of Space Golf.
Oh,
that was ridiculously hard for a mini golf game. And like 3D Ultra Mini Golf, that was hard, but not ridiculously hard.
And mini golf games have sort of died horribly, haven't they? They still exist, but they're always terrible.
Yeah,
because no proper people would try and make them any longer. So they
actually, I think, but in fact, I'd wager that Monkey Golf was better than most mini golf games these days.
But that was an extremely weird version of mini golf again, where it's like kind of monkey ball. It's like that. The weird sort of monkey ball physics where the rolling is kind of decelerates or whatever. It's like it decelerates faster than it would if it was just free rolling.
Well, it does to a point. Then when it's slow, it decelerates really slowly. You know what I mean? You seem to roll for a long time at slow speeds.
And then those levels were just designed to be ridiculous.
Yeah,
the monkey ball golf levels. when 90% of the time you just fly straight off the edge.
Well, this has been meandering.
Yeah.
So that's all you've been playing then, I guess. Zach?
Yeah, I was just trying to think of any more. Couldn't really think
Played
of
any Eve this week then?
Only a small bit. It was pretty much just logging in to check on planets as usual.
I heard a comedy story about Eve. You know how you occasionally hear comedy stories about Eve? Like,
yes.
Well, this one involved, the new... you'll have to explain how it works, but like you can now pay in-game currency for game time, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. And they're called something, and that game time kind of ticket is an item in the world, isn't it?
It's because I know what story you're quickly about now.
Yeah.
But it was this really, really stupid thing where originally the way they did it before this latest patch that changed it, which is what this story hinges on, the way it used to be done is when you bought a real life game card with real money, you could put the code on it into the game, and that would generate the in-game item, and then you could sell that on the market for the in-game cash.
Right.
But the patch that they did made it so that those in-game items could actually be transported, because before they were locked to wherever you generated them, and then you could just sell them on the market. But then they made it so you could move them around, which theoretically has some advantages, because it's like you could regional markets, so it's like when you'd sell them, they'd only appear on that region's market, so obviously you can move them around for small advantage. But the thing is, they're worth so much cash in game and in real life. It's like $15 or whatever, and then it's like 300 million ISK in game.
Yeah.
In either world, that's still a lot of cash to be transporting around. But then some idiot was transporting like 74 of them or something.
That's right, 73.
So it's like $1,500 worth of stuff, which is like multiple billions of ISK. He was transporting them around and got blown up. What a tard.
Yeah,
by other players or...
The other players saw it was there and they tried to steal it, but they accidentally blew him up, and that destroyed the cargo.
And got rid of all the cargo.
Yeah,
it will. I'm not sure how exactly it works with those specific items, because normally when you destroy a ship, it's like approximately 50% of the items in its hold and all the guns on it get ejected, survive the explosion. So maybe they were thinking, we can blow them up, and then maybe half of them will get destroyed, but maybe we'll get the other half. But no, it just destroyed them all.
They didn't get any. And it's like game verified, this story, isn't it? So that the guys that blew up the ship are supplied their game API key, so that you can verify it, so it's actually happened. And so it's really hilarious. Just got blown up, and of course that money goes nowhere apart from to the developers, because no one uses that game time because that's gone. So I mean, apparently there's like a petition to get the makers to donate any exploded money to charity, which I think is quite a nice idea. But it's still quite cool. It's quite a hilarious story.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So theoretically, he was carrying lots of other stuff, and he got the 50% of stuff that came out just happened to be the 50%, not including the
73 game
possibly,
time.
Or maybe it was like all the stuff in his hold died, but then all the modules on his ship survived.
Oh yeah, that could work.
And like I said, I'm not entirely sure how it works for the Plexes. They might always be destroyed or something. If the developers were bastards.
That's proper harsh. Did they tell you why he was transporting them?
Well, I didn't see it in any of the stories. People assumed it was because he was somewhat foolish and had because when you enter the game time codes into the game to generate the item, it creates them in the station you're in. So maybe he'd created them all and then was like, oh no, I wanted to create them where I was going to sell them. And then once he realised he could move them, he foolishly decided to move them. Which was not the right plan.
It's so funny. Poor guy.
Or at least if you're going to try and move
what does this mean though? Does it mean he's 1,500 actual money out of pocket, or did he spend all his in-game money on these?
I don't know whether they were,
because that would be terrible if it was his actual money. It's that is the most retarded thing anyone could probably do in a game ever.
Yeah.
Is actually lose real money by being a tard.
Well, it's the equivalent of real money, isn't it? Because you could convert the ISK into money. Couldn't you real money if you
if it was
you can
if it was
sort of do it
ISK,
backwards, but not very much.
I was about to say if it was ISK,
easy,
it wouldn't be quite so mad if it was just his in-game cash that he lost. I mean, it's retarded, but.
But why would he spend ISK on the game vouchers only to sell it on for more ISK?
You can make a profit in some cases if you buy low in one region and then ship it, and then he presumably thought he could buy them cheaply where in some backwater place where people were generating them and then selling them cheaper because it was inconvenient because you couldn't move them, or because they didn't want to fly all the way to the main market to generate the item. So it was like, I could buy them slightly cheaper out here, take them in, and then sell them for more cash.
So there are ways of manufacturing them for cheaper than CCP sell them for? Or
it's not like... I mean, obviously, in real money, they're always going to be worth, $15 or whatever.
Yeah.
But their in-game ISK value will vary depending on...
Oh, I see. So they're actually on the market as well.
Yeah, how much volume there is or whatever. They vary quite a lot.
It's awesome, isn't it?
But because they're probably the most expensive item. Some ships.
Most expensive single item that you can easily fit in a ship's hold, probably.
Tempting.
Yeah, because obviously a big battleship or something is worth a lot more than $15, but you can't transport it in a ship's hold, can't you? Because it is a massive ship.
You can, but not very many at once.
Right.
And that's significantly more secure than shoving... Because the thing is, the way it sounds is like... I totally don't have any confirmation on this because I haven't actually seen the kill mail to see what ship he was in. But it sounds like he wasn't exactly protecting them very well. It's like he had a lot of these things in not a very good ship, supposedly. Like, I'd understand if he'd been carrying them in like a friggin' giant, hauler or whatever, because those do sometimes get ganked, but it takes a lot of effort to destroy those.
Okay.
But the way this report was worded seems to suggest he wasn't exactly protecting them very much.
So he was just flying a shuttle, you mean, or something?
Yeah, because they do have no in-game volumes, so obviously you can fit a lot of them in a small space.
Because they take up in-game the volume of a credit card or something, so you can make a whole stack of them, stick it in your ship. That's hilarious. Oh,
he disobeyed the first rule of Eve, where it's like, basically you never want to be transporting a cargo that's more valuable than your ship. It's like, if the cargo is worth more than the ship it's in, you're doing something wrong.
Clever.
Or at least have some kind of escort or backup or scouts to make sure the route isn't camped by anyone.
You could pretty much transfer that to real life. If the thing you're transporting in the road vehicle is worth more than the vehicle itself, then you should probably...
Oh, but that must happen quite a lot, to be honest. Like Securicorps vans.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you do, then have
security.
Security.
Make it hardy.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, in that case it's like, but people must buy expensive tellies and put them in the back of their shitty 99 Fiesta.
That would be an example of... That would be doing it wrong, though, wouldn't it?
Or an expensive computer or something, just to move it to a LAN party or something.
That's
it's
true.
like, in real life, you're not going to suddenly get hijacked by road pirates and they destroy your stuff.
No, you'd have to seriously crash your car or something.
Yeah.
Or be
then that would be your
carjacked.
fault anyway. It's like, if you crashed your car that had an expensive TV in, it's like if you self-destructed your ship with all this stuff in, then you would have been
left it
retarded.
unlocked. Yeah. Anyway, time is drawing short. We have 2.5 minutes to
2.5 minutes.
2.5 that's slightly more than usual.
Well, yeah, okay, it's not totally short, and we have been sort of like going off on a meandering tale of gank action.
Are you going to go across to the other side of the room and shout 2 minutes?
You're going to be Mexican Rob again.
I've got a whole 30 seconds till Mexican Rob turns up.
Okay, fair enough.
well, it wasn't Mexican Rob, was it? Do we give him a name? Is it Fernando?
Fernando Campos. I don't know. No, I don't know.
Speaking of which, what the fuck is that Lady Gaga song about? Like, is she actually like talking random people's names or something at that point?
Yeah, it's
Alejandro.
It's Alejandro and Fernando, which are both real names, obviously, but it's just...
2 minutes!
That was the least convincing...
As I dropped the headset.
Wrong.
It's just an album song that isn't as good as any of her main songs, but they had to release it because every Lady Gaga single has to be the biggest thing ever. So, I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. I didn't know if it was like more from the album or if she's just adding more tracks to the album, because that happened, didn't it? She released the album, and then, like, here's the same album but with more.
Rihanna did that about 3 times with the with the Umbrella album, whatever that was called. That came out about 3 times. I don't think she's had one since. Oh no, she has, hasn't she? Yeah. Never mind. Pop music.
Umbrella.
That was our rapidly off-topic last.
Off-topicing
because we didn't really go very much on. We went
actually.
Off on
to be honest,
random...
we've stayed fairly focused.
You always say that, Rob. You'll sum it up. It's like we've stayed fairly focused.
We've been doing that the last few weeks, more focused than we were when I was originally saying we were focused.
It's amazing because I've
apart from my MFM stuff.
Because I've only talked about one game that I played, Plants vs Zombies. Like, I've played nothing, and yet there's been less random. So it's like, obviously, I need to play tons of stuff, and then I have loads to talk about.
As with
It'll be more random.
I'll be saying something like, "Oh, I'm not going to play anything new this week," and then inevitably, somehow, I'll still have something to talk about.
You will. So enjoy that next week. Join us again on the Saladcast. Oh no, 30 seconds. Okay, I need to fill a little bit more space for it.
Do we have an ending that's not just a random cut today?
You can make this a really long bite. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to clean that up last time.
I was making one. I was starting one, and now you said 30 seconds, and now it's probably about 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Yeah, okay. Join us again on the Saladcast for more ramblings about games and shits.